Hello.
Hi there.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. You roboted for a second, but
Did I?
it's all good.
That would not surprise me. Hello. Think for yourself. Hello, Gladys. Thank you guys for being here.
Hi, Megan. Hi, Gladys.
Okay. Are we ready for this?
Yeah, go
You
ahead. You
guys
go
are
ahead
ready
and
to go
start.
down the rabbit hole because that's where
And,
we're heading.
and we're going to be a little bit all over the place, but you just got to hang with us
I'm
because
always all over the place.
I got a
Always.
headache. Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't going to come on. And then uh, she was like, sending me some stuff. And then I thought, well, maybe she's wanting to come on. And then right before, and then she felt bad. And I told her not to worry about it. I'd wing this.
I just haven't felt very good the last few days, but I do want to do this. I just,
Yep.
you know how it is when you don't
Well,
feel
if
good.
you get to feeling better, and I know, Megan, do you want to come up with us? Because you're all into this too. The whole NASA hoax. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of craziness.
Yeah, we're going to start off with just talking about Operation Paperclip because that's where it really begins.
Yeah, for sure.
So I will wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and I can just drop the link in the chat in case somebody does, because I am doing the open panel.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, it's like, I think we all sort of know the broad strokes of it, but I would have liked to have dug in a lot deeper, but it just is what it is. So
There's so much.
it is. We could talk about this for a week and probably not scratch the surface. So.
Exactly. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
There's so much to it that in order to understand it, people have to really start thinking for themselves and not believe in everything the government says. And I know the bad thing about it is they need to know some symbolism, gematria, all that.
And the thing is too, is like,
I'm going to take my piece out.
All of this stuff is really hard to just sum up for somebody that has no doesn't know the basics in it. You know, when you've been down these rabbit holes for 20 years and you've collected and formed your picture from countless sources and changed your mind 100 times along the way, it's sort of hard to just sum up, you know. And so, like I said on the last one, I would always encourage everyone to do their own research. Go check it out for yourselves. Like, don't believe us. But if this at least gives you a start in kind of opening your eyes to sort of the reality you live in, and this is just just one little thing, one little slice of the pie. It just starts to show you how convoluted things are, our actual reality is. So.
Okay, I'm going to get off camera. There we go. I'm much.
Yeah, there is absolutely
Hey Dave, how are you?
No way I was going to be on camera.
Well, like I said, I didn't get out of here and I had so much to do and got home, made supper, and anyways.
Well, you look great, and but there's people here, and people will watch this, so I don't want to scare everybody away.
Well, I don't care. I don't care
if
I don't care if I scare them away. If they don't want to be here. Here's the problem. I hope I do scare them away then, because some of them are not very nice.
Well, they can suck a duck, because I mean an egg, a duck egg. You know what I'm saying?
How about a snake egg?
Yeah, they can do something, because I don't have time or patience for those kind of people.
No, and I don't either. Anyway,
if they're just gonna come in and be mean, then bye.
You know what, though? The last couple videos I've done, I have not had any trolls. I'm very thankful for that. I'm hoping
maybe they got bored and moved on. That's the hope, right?
Exactly. I hope so.
Anyway, why don't you go ahead and start with what you gathered together, and then I'm gonna go through mine.
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and while I'm talking, I just want to bring up some documents. This is Operation Paperclip. But anyways, it was founded after World War II. Our own government just brought over a ton of scientists from Nazi Germany. Germany brought them back here to America. Werner Braun von, who was a German Nazi, pretty much friends with Hitler, and he ran what's known today as NASA. And he actually ran the Berlin rocket factory. And what he would do with people like the Germans that didn't work fast, he was just as bad as Hitler, but he would take them out front and hang them and tell people, this is what you do this is what we do to you when you work slow. And they would hang these poor Jews. It was awful.
Yeah.
And
let me just add in here real quick that it was definitely not just Jews.
no,
From what
no.
I uncovered, or just what I found, let me get to my page. It, like, I should just probably know this anyway, but it was anybody that they just disagreed with. And these
Yep.
were slaves. These were not just,
Yep.
it was, I wrote down Jews, gypsies, Polish leaders, communist authorities, partisan resistors, Russian POWs, and then add the obvious, any other religious figures they didn't like, gays, so on and so forth. I mean, it was just anybody that they disagreed with. And you got to think about how all of us, like where we stand today with how we feel about the show that's being run, that could be us easily down the road. Just saying.
Yep.
Just saying.
Exactly. And I mean, I think a lot of that happens still today in some areas, in some countries.
Yeah. Well, modern slavery is alive and well. So
yeah. And then the Simon it's called Wichita Center, whatever. They actually said that if that Werner Braun von, if he was alive today,
yeah,
if he was alive today, they would prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law for crimes against humanity.
Well, these were all war criminals that escaped justice because they were considered useful to the United States with our own V2 projects and then NASA. I mean, they brought them over in 45, and by 1950, they were at the top of their careers, like entirely. Like, you just go ahead. I don't want to keep interrupting you.
Oh, no. I'm just saying
our research sort of crisscrosses. That's why.
Yeah, and that's okay. You want to say what you have to say and vice versa,
Yeah.
Well, so the mythology of it all was our government would say, we got the good Germans. No, we didn't get the good Germans. We got the top Germans, the most dangerous ones.
Yeah, and they were all SS, by the way. SS was considered, the significance of them within the Nazis. They were an elite group that grew quickly, and they had two main divisions, and that splintered into a bunch of different divisions, all with, ideologists. They were all with all this ideology surrounding the occult. They were considered true believers, and they were schooled in racial hatred and hardened hearts to human suffering. That's a quote. So, that's just tells you something. They were brutal people, and tens of thousands of people under Werner von Braun and Walter Dornberger. Now, that's just the only two I really did any digging on. They just in their factories, in their rocket factories, tens of thousands of people were either executed, starved to death, or worked to death. And, that's all those lists of people in those categories that I mentioned before.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah, Megan. She says, I love how you switched the live to the 13th. Very occultic to you, Allison.
Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Well,
that's funny.
Jenny, I sent that message to you earlier. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? We're doing it on the 13th now.
I didn't even see that. That's kind of funny. Oh my goodness. It was because I didn't feel good yesterday.
Yeah.
But good catch, Megan.
Yeah. Anyways, it was founded on July 28th. Actually, Eisenhower signed the National Aeronautics and Space Act and then it was opened up in 1958, October of 1958, and it was publicly acknowledged. It wasn't publicly acknowledged until the 1990s when a journalist, her name was Linda Hunt, she actually wrote a book, and she got all the information through an FOI. And what's crazy, the government found out how she got this FOI and got all this information. They ended up going back on her for $125,000. And her and her attorney are like, why are you charging me that? And they said for the Xeroxes.
They do that. They did that to David Paulides too. Trying to go through the missing 411. The state parks tried to charge him $2 million for records on missing people, which they should have readily available. They're like, oh, we don't keep that kind of information, so we'll have to go collect it for you. It's like, he said, if you know the government, they record every roll of toilet paper they have. Like, they're super meticulous. So to say that they do not have records of missing people is completely crazy and disingenuous. But they try to do the same thing to him in his research. And anybody that follows Missing 411, you hear him say it all the time, like the absolute hard time that man's been given just trying to file Freedom of Information Acts. And that's what I was mentioning to you earlier, Allison, was a great resource for that is John Greenwald, and he runs what's called the Black Vault. I think you posted his YouTube channel, and he's also got, the Black Vault originals just on the internet, and he's downloaded or uploaded rather declassified documents for like 3 decades. So it doesn't matter. It's kind of like anything and everything you might be looking into that's declassified, you can probably find there. So it's a great resource.
I'm posting his link now. So
yeah, I would definitely go sub there. He's got a lot of great info. And if you're into UFOs at all, he goes through all of that pretty meticulously as well.
I'm posting Megan's too. So think for yourself, you guys. Go over and sub to her. She's awesome. She goes over just a lot of stuff that we're being lied to about. I mean, think about it. If they're going to lie about so much as just as far as NASA, they're lying about everything. And the crazy thing is, like I was telling my gym tonight, they brought in all these dangerous people in to run, to start NASA. Who are they bringing in now? This day and age to run our world. I mean,
I didn't even think of that.
I mean, think about it. Yeah.
I didn't really. I'm just thinking about what they did back then, but that's such a great point.
It is, because, people just need to wake up and not believe everything that our government, the mainstream media, and all that is telling us. Do your own research. Don't even believe us. Okay.
And don't just take Wikipedia's word for it.
Oh gosh,
you gotta dig deeper, because you can get at least dates and stuff from that usually, but the narratives, I would look for those elsewhere, because that's all controlled.
Oh, it is controlled. It is controlled. Is there any, now you can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, the document you've got there, and there's just a couple other, like, we don't need to go through them. It's like teeny tiny print. I can't even see it, but I read it on my phone, but it's like super small. But just you can find that at the Black Vault and read that for yourself if you're interested. It's like, when I pulled that up, I just pulled up 3 of like 33 pages of Project Paperclip memos and whatnot. There's a lot on there, but it basically, what those memos are doing are admitting their participation in Project Paperclip, which, if you don't recall, was considered a conspiracy theory not that long ago. Now it's common knowledge, right? So
exactly.
With an interesting thing I thought about Wernher von Braun anyway was, so we have these 2 characters, Wernher von Braun and Walter Dornberger, and these are just 2 of many scientists, engineers, technicians, or whatever that came over in Project Paperclip. I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was at least 1,000. So, but these 2, like I said, were SS. They were top of their field in rocketry, and I thought this was really kind of funny because when you look up Wernher von Braun, it just paints him in this like nice
Let me
picture
get
of,
his-
he's just this, top of the line rocket engineer. It doesn't say anything about his
I'm trying to
SS. I
find
mean,
them.
mass murderers
There
and
we go.
just brutal people. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but I can remember as a kid seeing old footage from like the 50s and 60s of Werner von Braun, where Disney was doing like animation and he's like hosting these shows for kids about NASA, like trying to get them interested in space and stuff. And he comes out smiling. And I sent you those couple of pictures. There's that really funny one with a Coke in his hand.
Yeah, I
It's
gotta
an older
find it
one, that
here.
black and white one. But it's just funny
Right here.
how
Whoops.
things can be painted so, one way for brainwashing, and then there's the whole reality behind it. But I thought this was really interesting because they said that he what's the word I'm searching for, that he surrendered to American troops willingly. And like
Yeah.
Joe and I were talking about this, and it's like, I bet you like a whole box of donuts that he already had a deal struck well before he surrendered, right? He wasn't just like, oh, I want to cooperate. No, you better believe, at least in my opinion, that this man had a deal struck for what he was going to be able to do when he got here. And these guys lived lives of luxury, and like I said, they were top of their fields. They weren't like, you know, imprisoned and let out to do rocket work. They lived the high life. And
Yep.
what I thought was so interesting was, like I said, those two worked side by side, and that was around like in the mid to late 30s. Those two, when he got his grant from Germany to do his rocket experiments and stuff, he was working right next to Dornberger's uh he was the head of the ordnance department of armed forces for Germany. And
Yeah.
then their spots were right next to one another. Well, here's the thing. Dornberger was arrested by British intelligence or British forces, and he was held for like 2 years. Well, guess who negotiated his release to the United States? Werner von Braun. And
Yep.
there's no, there's no accident in that. And so he escaped justice as well.
You know
And I
what's
was
great?
telling,
Go
go ahead.
ahead. Sorry. No, you go ahead.
What I was telling you earlier, he was responsible for launching 3,000 V2 rockets on cities like London, Amsterdam, Antwerp, and I'm sure others. And when you read like the Wikipedia, because I would look at that and then I would look at something deeper about it, right? To try to get the actual truth. It says on there that he was responsible for, okay, think about this. And I know the main goal of the V2 rockets was to destroy infrastructure.
Mhm.
However, and people went to bomb shelters, people fled, and I get that. But it says on there that it only killed 2,800 people out of all of these deaths in all of these cities in World War II. I find that hard to believe, but it does at least note that they were mostly civilians. But it
Yeah.
does say, how tens of thousands of these slaves died in their factories. But
Mhm.
um, so I just thought that was like an extremely low estimate. But
Oh, it absolutely is.
yeah, it just seemed kind of unlikely to me. But, I wasn't there, so I don't know. I can only go by
Yeah.
what I read. But so when he came over here, he was made chief of the US Army's weapons department, and he was in charge of our V2 rocket program. Then he spent 15 years as director of R&D at Bell Aircraft Corp, which this happens so often where these military and political people end up being like CEOs and heads of departments at all these corporations, which I think everybody kind of recognizes that America basically is one big corporation. But and he also helped to develop the world's first air-to-surface nuclear missile. And then he helped with the space shuttle. So like these two guys are like masters of destruction. I mean, just bonkers. And we're treating them like heroes, or at least people used to. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Hopefully people are seeing it like it is, but now. But then he went and retired in Mexico. And then he returned to Germany and he died there at age 85. 80 this is I'm talking about Walter Dornberger. And he's just like one of the worst. He's listed as one of the top 10 war criminals of World War II. That's out of every country involved, every skirmish that went on. It's bonkers. And here we brought him over here and gave him this nice life and made lots of money, and he lived to 85 years old. It's just remarkable to me.
yeah, exactly. I was just going to go over the NASA logo. Now, I want to show you guys, and I used it as my thumbnail too, because the red, look at that.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yep, it is the snake's tongue.
And then that circle behind the NASA, like
Yep.
that very much looks to me like the Ouroboros, which is the snake eating its own tail.
Exactly.
Now, that's supposed to signify life, death, and rebirth, like in the occult. But the bottom line, just to me, in my opinion, and probably not just mine, but it all lends to the serpent worship, which is
Yep.
Satan worship, the
Yep.
end of the day. And that is rife through so many ancient cultures. The serpent worship, the snake worship, the dragon worship, and the Gnostics flip everything on its head. Like a lot of people, I think Gnostics are Christians, but the truth of it is they think the snake was the good guy in the Garden of Eden, and God was, Jehovah was the bad guy. And it's just, like, again, dig into these things yourselves and you will just be like, what the heck?
I want to read this. The Earth's orbital speed. This is how they use the symbolism, the numerology. It says that Earth's orbital speed averages 66,620 miles per hour, which is fast enough to cover the planet's diameter in 7 minutes. See the 666? You will see 13, 666, 11.
And even the 7.
Duality.
Even the 7.
Yep, 7. I mean, it is, they literally go through, and it's everywhere in the music industry, the Holly weird. I call it Holly weird, all that.
It is Holly weird.
But I wanted to, here's like NASA's definition. There's so many of them, but NASA's actually, where is the one that NASA, when you look it up, it says it's to deceive. That is what NASA's definition is, to deceive. They're lying. And I'm going to say this right now, and I may upset people, but this is just my opinion. There's no way, in my opinion, actually it's scientifically impossible that we ever went to the moon. Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, they did not go to the moon, because you can't get past the firmament. Yes, I'm a flat earther, because that is it. It's in the Bible. It's in Genesis. It says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And then God called the light day, and darkness he called night. And the evening, morning, and the evening and the morning on the first day. And then God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let that divide the waters from above and the waters below. And then God made the firmament, and he divided the waters from above and waters below.
Well, and he talks about the foundations of the earth and the pillars of the earth. And I'll tell you, that has been an extremely hard one for me, but you have to recognize we were all born into this indoctrination, right?
Yep.
The only information we have ever gotten is from them.
Yep.
about what's happening out in space, how astronomers are even trained, and their telescopes. What do we have? Two main telescopes that have been used. I mean, I know there's a lot of observatories, but I'm talking about like the quote unquote deep space telescopes, the Voyagers, different things like that, radio telescopes and stuff. Now, it is still hard for me, but here's where I kind of sit today. So much of the Bible makes sense to me because I finally started looking at it. It's taken me 51 years to get to this place. And I've come at it through UFOs and Dogman and like these odd subjects where, like I said on the last one, down every rabbit hole, you encounter Satan somewhere down the line. It's
Satan's
just
everywhere.
remarkable. It connects like every main topic out there. It's just bonkers. So here's where I sit. It's like, how could that be the one like wrong thing in the Bible and the one true thing they tell us? I just find that sort of hard to believe, but I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it because it's hard to break these things we've known to be true our entire lives, right? But every image, every report, everything has come from that source.
Yep.
Of the government, of NASA. And so it's sort of like you have to sort of take an honest step back, which I am still trying to do. I think part of the problem is I have a really hard time wrapping my head around like what the flat earth means or what it would look like the model or whatever, because I've only been ever shown the other model. But what I will say, and you know this, Allison, is NYS TV, Now You See TV with David Carrico and John Pounders. I think they do a really great job of not just explaining this, but a lot of things that we're looking at today. And then they always go to scripture and show how that reflects exactly what we're looking at. Yeah. So,
well,
I'm still trying to get there, but
tell me this. Listen, for just 1 second. You know what's crazy is all pilots. I'm talking American Airlines.
Yeah, Joe was a pilot, and he told you they teach you in pilot school. They tell you to ignore everything you've learned about the world being round, and they teach you from a flat Earth perspective.
My great uncle was in the Air Force. My dad was in the Navy. My great uncle always said that they used a flat Earth map.
Yep, Joe said the same thing. Fact.
And you think of this. A rainbow. How does a rainbow form? It's an arch, right?
Yeah.
Well, the rainbow, the colors are going off of the firmament. When they launch a rocket, you don't see a rocket go straight. The rocket curves to the arch of the firmament. And you guys go look at videos. It shows the videos where when rockets explode, they hit the firmament. I've seen videos.
I literally just saw one of one of Elon Musk's rockets, a recent one that went up, and it crashes into something, and it plumes out in this circle around it as though it hit something dead on.
It does.
It's crazy looking. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're not going to break through the firmament. I mean,
so, and then also you have HAARP. They bitch and complain constantly about the emissions we're putting off and I remember this back in like the 90s, I think. Oh, we're putting holes in the ozone layer. Meanwhile, HAARP is blasting their radio waves up there intentionally to try to blow a hole through it. Meanwhile, they're blaming us for doing the very same thing. But at that time, HAARP, nobody knew what HAARP was, so now people do, and they've got several installations around the world, or whatever you want to call it. And so it's really interesting when you just look at kind of all these things compiled. It really makes you think. It really does.
We've got this eclipse coming in April, and they're talking about this comet that's coming forth, and it's going to go across Earth. And I haven't really watched a whole lot on it, but they're saying that it could possibly drop a new pandemic. This comet fall from the sky.
Isn't that interesting that they would be able to predict that?
exactly. And well, they've already predicted disease X. They predicted this starting right after the C word.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get
That's
so
a whole
busted
new
one of these
definition,
days.
the C word. That used to
Yep.
mean something else. But
Well, exactly.
and the thing is too, is I've thought about this, and it's like, I think it's possible that the firmament is way bigger and taller than we can even really wrap our heads around.
It absolutely
So,
is.
when you see the models from the Flat Earth Society, which by the way, like NYSTV used
Mhm.
to kind of study this with them, and then they broke away because they said they're a psyop. They're put out
Mhm.
there to discredit the topic.
And
Now,
there
I
is
don't
so
know if that's
many of
true or
those.
not. I don't know
I
if that's
believe
true or
that.
not, but
I
I'm just saying what they've said.
Yep.
And so they kind of, again, they go back to the Bible, and I saw an image just the other day that their artist, I think his name is Adam. He did he does like these really, he did their intro, which is awesome, and he does a lot of their artwork for him. And I think it was him who came up with this model. And what's interesting is it looks more like the that image from the movie Interstellar, where it's like it is a circle. There's a firmament above and below, and
Mhm.
then they talk about there being these rings that go around the side, and the Bible talks about these portals that the sun goes in and out of, which is how it changes, you know, the seasons and all this other stuff. It's not like it just, like in those flat earth models, it just kind of was always hard for me to make sense of that. It just, sun and moon just spin around like horizontally. What these guys seem to think or be hedging at is that it does go in a circular, or I guess like a spherical pattern, but it goes in and out of these portals, which is what the Bible says. Okay. And as it comes through one, it changes direction a little bit. And then that's how you have, I don't know. I am not an astronomer, and I am
Well,
not, it's hard for me to understand. I'm just going to say that
it,
straight up front.
yeah.
And either whether it is like the traditional model, or the flat earth model, or this other model. It's like I don't know. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around any of it, truly. But
Yeah.
I'll get there one day. But I do think that's like their model is really kind of interesting. It sort of helps to explain away the things that don't make so much sense in like the regular flat earth society model, which is just like this flat disk, a shallow dome over it. And it's like, how could that be? So I guess my point is that there could be a lot of celestial things going on inside the firmament, you
Well, there
know?
is. That's where
You
all
know,
the satellites are. They
well, that's what
literally,
I wondered about.
yes.
And when you talk about the Van Allen belt, they've always said, well, we can't get past that. It's all this, radiation and so forth.
Mhm.
Well, then how the heck could we have gone to the moon? I don't
Well,
understand
tell me
that.
this. They tell us back in 1969 we went to the moon, and now they say we can't because we don't have that technology. Are
But they
you
could do it with
flipping kidding me?
some thin materials and technology far less than the phone I have in my hand right now. But we can't do it now, but we can create AI and nuclear weapons and just all this other stuff. It just doesn't make sense. It's just bizarre. And I heard something recently where that statement was made, and they were talking about oh, we don't have the technology. So somebody was like, well, what happened to all your papers on it? Can't you just go back and go back to your original notes? Like,
Mhm.
and they're like, oh no, those were all lost. Are you kidding me? The
Well,
most
supposedly,
monumental thing that man is supposed to have accomplished so far, and you lost the notes on it?
yeah.
Like that. Now I just heard that, but that just sounds so bonkers.
Well, Nixon
But
called on a landline, called the moon from a
yeah, that
landline.
again,
Come
yeah.
on
I
now.
mean,
People,
right.
they've got to start thinking for themselves and not believe everything. Heck, Hillary Clinton, Elon Musk, all of them have said, we live on a flat earth. There is a firmament, but people just laugh and think they're teasing. We
Mm-hmm.
were talking earlier about, Buzz Aldrin talking to the 8-year-old. He said, she asked, what was it like going to the moon? It did not happen. And that's
Yeah.
what a question not for an 8-year-old.
Yeah, that's
I
what he
mean,
said.
but
And
people think he's
he was
joking.
sort of blown away. Or actually, I think her question was, why haven't we been back to the moon? I
Yes,
think that was her question. And he
yes.
said, that's a great question and not one for an 8-year-old.
Well,
And
he
he's like,
said it
because it
didn't
didn't, he
happen.
goes, because it didn't happen.
Yes,
There is a video out there now, unless it's been
yes.
scrubbed by now, but
People can go look it up. I've watched it several times.
yeah.
And another thing, there is no such thing as gravity. That's just a term they use. I mean,
Well,
it
they
this is
definitely can't explain it. I mean, they
no.
can
And
say, "Oh, well, Newton, said the apple fell, blah, blah, blah," whatever.
well,
They have a description for it, but they can't prove it. They can't measure it really. They can't, so there's the only thing I've ever heard about that was supposedly like some years back, this gravitational wave went through the universe and it affected all the electromagnetic everything, and who's to know that? Like I said, when all of the information comes from them.
yeah,
You have none of us have been to space. None of us are going to space. So you
no.
just got to take their word for it, right?
Yep. Who was that guy? William Shatner. Did you guys watch him get out of the space thing? And he got out.
No.
He acted like he was just confused as hell. And then not too long after that, he died. But it was the most. It was so freaking put on and fake. I'm telling you, it was just. I laughed
I
because
don't know. But then you think about, I can't remember their names, and so I probably shouldn't even bring it up. But there were the 3 astronauts that got burned alive in that capsule right on the launch pad. And it said that the one of the like the lead astronaut, and I can't remember his name, so I shouldn't even speak on it. But you can
I'm
look it
gonna.
up. It's not hard to find 3 astronauts that burned alive.
I'm
They
gonna
were
bring you. Go ahead
apparently
and talk.
trapped in that capsule right on the launch pad. It said that the lead guy there was,
Hmm.
I guess had some morals and some integrity, and he was sort of fed up with these shenanigans, and he was going to blow the lid off. And apparently, allegedly, they murdered all 3 of them, and just said that there was a fire and they couldn't get him out. But like, that's crazy.
Yep.
I don't know. Look it up. It's something I heard like
I'm
years ago, and I just don't remember the exact details of who they were or what year it was or whatever. But
well. People
again, you
just
can't
don't
know
even
everything.
think.
You can't remember everything.
People don't think that they just believe what is happening in the world, that they're taking the government, whatever, they're taking their word.
Yeah.
Well, the Challenger, do you guys remember the Challenger and all those poor people that um
They kicked rocks in it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to show you something here.
We watched that in 7th grade in our science
Yep, so
class,
did
and we were
I.
all just crying and
Yep,
devastated. I remember
me
that day
too.
they rolled a TV in on a cart, and we were in Mr. Kleiss's class in 7th grade,
Yep.
and we're
Well,
all watching this, and we're like,
I'm going to show you something because there was one of these. They actually had
that's the one with the teacher on it, right?
the journal. Yeah, they actually
The
had a
female
journalist
teacher.
go. Yes, they actually had a journalist go to a door and try interviewing one of them. Now, they can't. I wish. How do you get this bigger? Hold on. I'm going to bring this up.
The teacher's
Okay.
name was Christy something, I think.
Yeah. Well, they literally don't even, these are the people that was on the Challenger. They are still alive, you guys. And they that one didn't even change her name, but
Oh
they
my
went
God.
to this Richard. A journalist tried interviewing him and he slammed the door on their face. Yeah.
Well,
This is what you call a
people are
psyop.
made, yeah, people are made to sign
Yep.
NDAs. They get paid
This
off to
one's
shut
still a
up.
teacher. The teacher is still a teacher. I mean, it's called a psyop. I know you guys laugh. I know you're laughing, but this is
I'm laughing
crazy.
because I'm just
I
just
know.
dismayed. It reminds me of the 9/11 hijackers that like half of them popped up later, like, oh, we weren't on there. Like their IDs were found on the ground. They were named as hijackers, and then I think it was like 4 of them they tracked down, and they're alive and well. And it's like,
Yep,
what is happening? I think we know, but
I
it's
know.
just
It's
so
just trying to tell
multi-layered,
people.
convoluted. and crazy
Yep.
that a person who's remained with their head in the sand this whole time,
Mhm.
I can understand why it's hard to believe,
Oh,
in
me
a
too.
way, when you haven't been like in this inched along process of having the scales peeled from your eyes. This doesn't come to you overnight. That's the thing. I mean, maybe for some people, but definitely not for me. This has taken decades to try to get your head around so much of this. And, you know, I don't know. It's just remarkable to me.
Yep.
But
I mean, it's remarkably it honestly makes me sick to my stomach
yeah,
what
I
is
don't mean that in a
happening.
positive way. I mean that
Yep.
in like the
Oh, I
most
know.
like messed up way, like
Yeah, it makes
mind
me
cracking.
yep, because there's so much we are being lied to about. And I mean, I could go into so much more, but that's a whole nother video. But as far as this Operation Paperclip and NASA, oh, there's Miss Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Yay.
How are
Hello.
you?
Hi, sorry, let me mute your stream. Hi, ladies.
I don't hear her.
Can you hear her, Jenny?
I don't.
You
Can you?
don't? I
No.
can hear her just fine.
Oh, darn it.
Pop out and pop back in.
Okay, bye.
Come back.
This is me. We do all the time. My friend Native and I, when we play Fortnite, we're like, okay, all right, I'm gonna hop off now. We go to bed or whatever. And then we go, okay, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. So yeah, you ladies are making a lot of great points. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I'm losing some some people that were here, and it upsets them. But what do you do? I mean, the people need to know what's really
Yeah.
happening.
I think more and more
And
people are starting to wake up now.
Oh,
there is a
hi,
lot.
Megan.
Because of like not to bring up politics or Trump or whatever, but just what's going on with them trying to, keep him from competing in the presidency, campaigning or whatnot, but not like giving him a fair chance, like, oh, we're gonna take you off the ballot or whatever. It's like people are gonna go like, what are you doing? Like, he's allowed to run fair and square like everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's just certain things that people are gonna start finally, hopefully.
Can you hear her, Jenny?
I can now. Hi, Megan.
good.
It's so good to hear your voice. How are
Yeah.
you?
You know what I think as far as all the indictments, Megan? Okay, so he wasn't able to tell his story in front of the Supreme Court, the justice, Well, with all these indictments, he gets to go in and tell the truth. And I think that's why he's just going along with this. It's crazy.
Yeah. you know me. I just don't think any of it's real anyway. I think they're all essentially on the same team.
Me too.
I
I
do
always say
think-
they all sleep in the same bed together in the end.
Yeah,
Like,
they do. They all, they may have different agendas, but they all have the same ultimate goal in mind, and they all are
Absolutely.
part of the same club. So when you start looking into Trump's bloodlines,
Mhm.
the occult symbolism just in Trump Tower, you see, like, there was some magazine that took pictures of his New York apartment. It is full of like old low G gods, which we know are fallen angels. And
Yeah.
one of them is Apollo, which I was going to get to. Just let me know when you want me to do that. But
You go ahead.
well, I want Megan to share, she came up and I'm so glad she did. So if she's
Yes.
got some things to share, I want her to do that first.
well, I just
'cause this
wanted to
is sorta-
comment. I just wanted to comment a little bit on like what you guys were saying about Jen. I know you said that you were either for flat Earth or for it being that, right? Is that what it?
I'm
is that
just
kinda
sort
what you
of
said?
just trying to learn and wrap my head around it. I recognize that the government has lied to us about everything, our history, our present, our future. So why would that be the one thing they're being truthful about? Now there is a sliver of truth in everything, but then
Right.
again, you look at the Bible and there's so much truth to that. Why would that be the one thing that's wrong? So I'm sort of just trying to get my head around it in general. I'm just trying to learn. I'm just for the first time ever, I'm sort of like accepting that that was a hard one for me to come to, but for the first time ever, I'm starting to accept that it's very well possible that we do not live on a spherical Earth hurtling through space. I mean, there's a lot of things like, why are we not hit by more celestial objects? How are
Yeah.
satellites, so many thousands of satellites whirling around this planet, and they're not taken out by a pea-sized meteorite, which we were always told could rip a hole right through the space shuttle. There's space
Yeah.
junk everywhere,
And it's
apparently.
not hitting the space station. Yeah.
So there's a
Exactly.
lot of things that just don't make sense. And so for the first time ever, I'm like, it's very well possible that we don't
Yeah.
live on the Earth they say we do, you know?
Mhm.
See, that's my problem too. Is like people are like, well, are you a flat earther or are you a what do they call them, baltards or something? You know, like it's so and it's so divided all the
Yeah.
time. It always has to be two-sided.
How
I'm
about
just
we
a
just go for the
truther.
truth, no matter what
Yep.
it means, you
And it's
know?
like
That's
people
what I
get so angry. It's like when you talk
Yeah.
about politics or religion, when you talk about flat earth, it's like you can't usually find people where you can have a adult like discussion about whether you not you think the earth is whatever. It's like, and it doesn't even, to me, first, it doesn't matter what shape it is. What matters is NASA's lied.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
like I said, if they've lied about one thing, what else have they lied about? So that's what people
Right.
should be worried about, not whether it's
Right.
like shaped like a boob or like, you know, or whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Like to me, it doesn't matter the shape of it. It matters
Yeah.
as to why we're being lied to.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
what I tell people. I don't care what I live on, but they are lying, and people need to know that
Yeah.
because they're lying
And you
about
know, I
everything.
wouldn't even call myself a truther. I'm just a person who would prefer
Yeah.
to know the truth. I'm
Yep.
sick of feeling stupid for the deluded lies I've believed in the past. I'm over it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And so it's like I just care about the truth. And what seems to be the truth to me in the past, I would say, year and a half, 2 years, is that there is, you know, divinity in Christ. The Bible is like more relevant than anything. If you look at even all the world religions, they all revere Christ in one way or another, right? He's either a prophet or he's a good guy or he's the Messiah or he, you know, but and so that tells you something. When you look at ghost encounters, dogman encounters, alien encounters, which I personally think are all Nephilim at this point, but his name can make the encounter stop and make them flee screaming. So, you know, there's got to be something to that. And that's what kind of led me. It's like I feel kind of sick and sad that I ran from it my whole life because I could have learned so much more so much earlier. But it is what it is. And where I'm at now, it's like I just am absolutely blown away and fascinated. It is like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, you know, any like saga you might be interested in one book, and it's reality, right? When you look back on all the Canaanite tribes and the Nephilim and all this crazy stuff, you look at Bigfoot and that is, in my opinion, that is DNA experiments from Nephilim DNA. The big, and this comes from like special ops guys that have worked in the DUMBs, where scientists have straight up told them they've seen giants in these big plexiglass boxes. A friend of ours named John Bell has had this guy on named Sean Starry lately, and he is chocked full of information on this stuff. He says he showed us a map of like all the DUMBs and the mag rails. It looks like a city map of the United States. This is all underground. And he said the DUMB that he worked in was the size of the city of Chicago. He saw a giant with his own eyeballs in this big plexiglass cube that he heard firsthand from another special ops guy that he knew. And these are all military contractors. This other guy was special ops, so he was current military. They had to catch this giant, and he is supposedly responsible for 2,000 missing people in Mount Rushmore. So, you know, this just goes deep and far and wide and crazy. But the more you get into it, it circles right back to the Bible. And that's what's so fascinating to me. I just think I think it is the greatest story ever told. And we need to be paying attention to it, because you better believe all these people at the top, they are serving the wrong master. They wouldn't be involved in all this occultism, all these rituals, all this, you know, all this demonic craziness, and all gunning for ultimate new world order, global governance, whatever you want to call it. It's bottom line, it's total control over all of us. And that's going to be through it's already happening. This mass surveillance. Well, they want to take that the next step. You listen to Yuval Harari, who works for the Alphabet organization. Oh my gosh. Help me, Allison. It's not the WHO, it's the Klaus Schwab's little organization over there.
World Economic Forum.
Oh yeah.
Yes, World Economic Forum. You listen to that guy's own words and it will give you nightmares. He talks about all we need. I heard this some different clips, and it's not stuff taken out of context. He explains it pretty thoroughly. And one of the things he talks about is he's like, now we can know that you're watching this video. What we don't know yet is how you feel about it. And every tyrant in the past, and he mentions Hitler, he mentions Stalin, all these people, they didn't know how to do it, but we do. All we need to do is get that surveillance under your skin. And not only will we know how you feel about it, we can control how you feel about it. What does that tell you? Full-blown mind control, which is another thing that came over with Project Paperclip, this whole MK Ultra crap, and that never stopped. That's just taken on different names over time. So sorry for my rant, but it just makes me crazy. I'm just, it's really disheartening.
Yeah, and not to interrupt you, but like I don't get like Soros and Gates, like they're up there in age, and it's like, what? Like you're not gonna be here that much longer, so what do you do, like for your family? Like you guys are destroying the earth anyway, so what about your children? Like they think they're immune to like the chemtrails.
I know.
Like I don't.
I've said the
they
same thing.
Their
like
own clear air, and
yeah, that's what I said too, Megan. I was like, you breathe the same air, but you know what? These people. If you got med beds and you've got like the fountain of youth at your fingertips, and you've got things that we don't even know exist or we think are still in the realm of Star Trek or fantasy, and they keep it that way, right? Like I have this book right here. It's called, I bought it from Nick Redfern at a conference, and it is it's called The Matrix Control System of Philip K. Dick and the Paranormal Synchronicities of Timothy Green Beckley. And it goes through all of these it's a really big, thick book, but I was reading the stuff by Philip K. Dick, and he talks about how he had agents approach him. This was like back in 1967 or something. And he was writing all this sci-fi, and he was approached by these, agents, he calls them, and they wanted him to put out, they were really going after sci-fi, and they wanted him to put out these specific narratives within his writing and so forth, which a ton of Philip K. Dick has been turned into movies and series and so forth. And he refused, but he did say that he recognized exactly the things he was approached about in other sci-fi writers. So he's like, well, they got to some of them. And you just think we've eaten that stuff up for years. And so it goes with that whole predictive programming thing. And, I use some of these as like sort of umbrella terms. I say Masons, I mean Masons and all the other secret societies, which, by the way, I learned recently, it was even corrupted itself by the Illuminati. Now, people like to think the Illuminati is just this Hollywood thing.
No.
We know it's not true. That goes back to like 1776. And they are all about New World Order, division of the classes, control over the masses of society, massive population decrease. So but basically, what does that equal? The rich are really high up here and everybody else are like peasants. And you serve them, they get all the best resources, all the best technology, all the best everything. And it's just so multi-layered and crazy that it's like I said, it's just hard to sum up for somebody that's like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy realist, and I've got the T-shirt to prove it. So there.
I'd like to apologize for my giggling back there, but I might.
No, please, because if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
And I'm like, oh my god! Then you said it again, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you keep saying that. Okay, sorry. That's what a name.
Yeah, right. That is funny. But yeah,
the World Economic Forum, their predictions or whatever on their website.
Yeah.
You seen that? The
Oh
8
yeah, you'll be happy and have nothing, and they're talking about if you go to the websites and you look up like Agenda 2030, and I've looked at this at the UN, WHO, WEF, a bunch of them. It all essentially says the same thing. They're talking about how much meat you're going to be able to eat, which is, by the
Yeah.
way, 500 grams. That's like less than a steak
Could you pull that
a
up, Alex,
week.
that website? Do you know?
The
Well,
World Economic.
or can I
Yeah.
screen share? I don't know if I can screen share.
You should be able to, can't you?
Please do. I don't know how to do it. You guys go ahead.
Oh, present. Okay, is that okay?
And they make it in this.
Yes.
Here's the funny thing. They have
Let
this like
me-
little
hold on,
bubble
Jenny.
cartoon.
Jenny, hold on 1 second. Can
Sure.
are you able to, Megan?
Yeah. Yeah. Share screen. Yeah.
Okay, good. You shared it. So what do
Oh, I haven't done it yet, but I just.
okay, you go ahead. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Let me just get to this video because it's on a different video, but 'cause I don't know where exactly it is on the website.
Is there
But-
anything I have to do?
No. I don't think
Okay,
so.
I was just getting ready to put it in patch or in the chat here, but I'm gonna take my puppy out and go pee and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say what's so funny is they show this like little cartoon, and it shows like the emissions from a car, the emissions from a bus, and it's all hedging towards public transportation and not owning a car, right? And there's this skyline of buildings behind it. Like I said, it's like a little bubble cartoon. And the only building that's visible in the skyline is an obelisk.
Oh, of
Like,
course.
oh my gosh. They just won't quit. They just
Yeah.
take every single opportunity to throw
Mhm.
some occultic thing in there. And it's just like I said, you have to laugh or you'll cry.
Yeah.
It's really quite crazy. But yeah, I don't know how to. I'm glad you're going to screen share that because I don't know how to do it. I've never even hosted StreamYard ever, so
Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
I forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say? It was something that you had mentioned a little bit ago. What was it?
I don't know. Probably a lot.
I don't know. I think I
A
was.
lot of junk. A lot of junk.
I can't remember. I'm sure it'll come back to me.
When
But
Allison gets back, one thing that just because I thought this was super interesting, and this is sort of hopping all over the place, so hopefully people can follow in some sense. But I went through, we're talking about the Apollo program and the two guys that were pivotal in its inception, which was, I know there were plenty of other people, but two pivotal people, these mass murderer psychopaths. And it's named Apollo, right? And then you go down through the Greek and Hebrew names and gods and so forth. So when she comes back, I want to, if you guys want to, I wanted to kind of just zip through that a minute, just to show the connection, how this goes back through history, through the old gods, through the old cultures. And when I say old gods, I mean low G gods. I happen to be of the belief that all of these old pagan gods were the fallen angels that brought the 7 sacred sciences to these cultures and created these civilizations. And they gave them, 7 sacred sciences. It's math, astronomy, building, or masonry. It's like where Freemasonry comes from. Geometry, music, language, and writing. I think those are the 7. And those are the basis of all these civilizations. And so it's always this trade-off, right? You even see it with like the quote unquote aliens of today, where we're going to give you these prizes, this technology, or something like that. But that stuff has a price. It all has
Mhm.
a price. And back then it required their worship. And that's where you get into all of this like human sacrifice, child sacrifice. They wanted the secret knowledge, the magic, the alchemy, and all this stuff. But they in turn had to worship these old gods, and so much of it is not godly, right? It's like I said, human sacrifice, child sacrifice. A lot of it revolves around sex magic, and just a lot of things that, like, I don't know, just aren't really good for the soul. And it's all antichrist in my opinion. And you see it today when I guess you have to get to, like, if you even believe in aliens. Like I said, I believe they're Nephilim, like, or they're byproducts of, put it that way.
Mhm.
And it's just another part of the great deception. And a lot of people talk about, like in the UFO communities, talk about this false flag alien invasion with Project Bluebeam, and they put this Tic Tac thing out. What was that?
Tic-tac.
20 Tic Tac.
Sorry.
Yeah, the little UFOs that look like Tic Tacs. That the
Oh, I
Navy
thought
saw.
never mind. Sorry.
So, not TikTok. I screw that up all the time. The Tic Tacs, the little Tic Tac shaped UFOs.
Yeah.
With ATIP and all of this with Louis Elizondo, and David Grush is now talking about it. And what's interesting, and this is not something that's been publicized far and wide, but I have seen them both, the words come out of their mouth. Now I realize we got deep fakes and all of that, but that being said, I saw an interview with Louis Elizondo, and it was not any of this mainstream stuff where he went around the world on every possible network spouting this one particular narrative about the Tic Tacs and ATIP and all of that. He's talking to this female podcaster. I didn't recognize her. I wish I would have grabbed that so I had the source available, but I don't. And he's talking about how a superior of his from the Pentagon told him, do not pursue this. They're not what you think they are. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? What are they? And he said, they are demonic. Then Commander Fravor, one of the pilots that has been again on this campaign to, when he was finally able to talk about this or given permission to talk about his encounter with these Tic Tacs, again, not out on the mainstream, but it was a documentary, I think. And he's sitting there, he's got like a leather bomber jacket on, and he's sitting on a stool. Again, I didn't grab the source, so I hate that, because we're in this, we need to be able to show our sources. But he sits there and the man is literally in tears, and he's talking about how after those encounters he had nightmares forever about hell and the apocalypse, and he just did not even know what to make of it. And so again, it goes back to this theme of these things not being critters from another planet, and it kind of lends to this idea again that they are of the demonic, the Nephilim, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, I sort of have these umbrella terms for all of this that kind of falls under one thing. And then you hear, like I said, about from the UFO community about the Bible, the Great Deception. You hear from the UFO community about this false flag alien invasion, Project Bluebeam. You saw that Santa and reindeers, that was like a test run of Project Bluebeam, I think, in all these cities. And everybody was like, oh, look how cool that is. Well, different whistleblowers and stuff have said, and as again, this is all alleged and in my opinion and blah, blah, blah. But they have said that, like, prepare for this false flag alien invasion. And I said to Joe, well, no one should be surprised if a UFO flies up in their yard and a dog man hops out, because they have them both. Joe shot one in the face. So, and he was told by feds that was an asset of Homeland Security and to shut up about it. And they threatened him like crazy, shut down his bank account, put a tracker on his car. I mean, They took a gun of his, put it back in his truck, broke into his truck 5 years later.
Yeah.
And then this is not with any paperwork or anything. This is pure intimidation. So,
Yep.
That's why I said, if you see a UFO fly up in your yard and a werewolf pop out, don't be shocked, because they've got them both. And when you start to realize things on that level, like I said, it really is pretty mind-blowing. But it leads you to a lot of other truths, I think. And I see, if we do experience this, false flag alien invasion, which it's said that they're going to blue beam UFOs, but will really be our military bombing us or lasering us or whatever, probably direct energy weapons.
Yep.
That just like they just tested out in Hawaii, I don't know if we can talk about this stuff on YouTube.
I don't
I'm
know
sorry if
either.
this gets
That's what I'm
booted.
saying. I don't know what I can say or can't say, but if they shut my channel down, I'll just make a new one. Everybody else does. I'm not
Yeah,
monetized, so I mean,
it
I don't know.
really shouldn't. It shouldn't be a
Did-
problem. You hear a lot of other people talk about these things.
Well, heck, look at all the videos they've taken down of me on my TikTok. I about
TikTok.
TikTok
On your TikTok.
and my YouTube channel, just about the Georgia. I don't even know if I can say it. The Georgia, Georgia.
Yeah, those big
Guidestones. I'm
slabs
gonna
of
say it,
granite
but
that were in Georgia that got blown up that had their version of the 10 Commandments. Yeah, that's bonkers that was taken down.
Yep. I couldn't even get monetized if I wanted to, unless I fought it, which I'm not going to fight it because I don't give a crap. But I
Yeah.
mean, Chili's on fire too. So what is this you have up here, Megan?
Oh, I
I've
just
not
wanted to
seen
say
this.
one thing about the alien things. So I always joke to people and I say, well, I don't know if aliens are real or not, but I'll tell you what, if they are real, I'm pretty sure Nancy Pelosi's one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mark
Yeah,
Zuckerberg,
the whole lot
George
of them. I think
Soros,
they're
like,
all
if anyone are
reptilians.
aliens, yeah, they would be. Yeah, that's what I said to you about David Icke. I'm like, I like a lot of David Icke stuff, but his reptilian theory is a little out there. But you never know. Like,
You don't know with these
No.
people because they, when you listen to these SAR survivors, and there's quite a few of them out there, they name a lot of these people personally. And I would think if those are just blatant lies, they would be in legal trouble. They would be hauled into courts for defamation. But you know what would happen if if they did that? Then they would have to prove why these people are lying, which means they'd have to release phone records, emails. They are not about to do that. So they just frame them as crazy. The interesting thing is, this side of the people, Clinton and this and that, and like who we were talking about, they lie continuously. These
Yeah.
SAR survivors, satanic ritual abuse survivors,
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, what's
they
this?
have said the same story for years. So, it just, when you get down to it, it's kind of like, I guess it just comes down to who you want to believe in, backed up by a lot of other stuff out there. So, I don't know. I
You, like,
tend to
you literally
believe
have to
them.
take everything with a grain of salt these days. You just have
You
to.
do.
Like, you can't.
You
It's so
do.
hard to vet information, and
Mhm.
if you vet the information, how do you know if that information is true? Which is sad. And
Yeah.
but
Well, that's
it's
what
like,
makes us people like we're trying, the conspiracy theorists, they make this stuff so outrageous that you're like, I tell people, you can't believe everything, but the majority of it, believe it, but do your own research because they always
Right.
throw these people out here that are saying this and that isn't. Well, I mean, they could be, but I don't believe so. But not,
Well, and
they
and
haven't
like
found proof.
every one of these like groups of conspiracy realists that come out, they, whatever the topic may be, you better believe they're infiltrated by somebody who's there to redirect the narrative. That it's just it's COINTELPRO. It's just a
yeah, you have
known
controlled opposition too.
program they have. So yeah. So, you have to, but that's where discernment comes in. And you just have to go with, you just have to go with your best discernment. And we're never going to know everything. We're never going to understand it all. I'm not even sure we're meant to. But, what I will say is, I think it's really hard for some of these victims to come out and talk at all because they just, off the bat, they've not been believed. They're assuming they're not going to be believed, but they're still willing to talk about it. And their stories haven't changed. And so I find that really compelling, if nothing else. And it's like, okay, here's another thing. How do you have certain people that have been seen on certain planes on their, itinerary or their manifest,
Mhm.
yet and certain things get tagged to their name over and over and over again, but it just cannot be true, because they say so. I don't know. I know that I've certainly never been accused of things that these people have. And so I find it interesting that in all these different contexts, like who is Jeffrey Epstein? Who, like, I would love to know. Why don't they just, if none of it's true, then release all the blackmail he's got on people?
Yeah.
Just let the
Yeah.
truth be known.
Or
That will never,
release the JFK files and
right, that will,
Exactly.
that will never happen, you know, not
or
entirely and
release the
not
information on the
truthfully.
Watts case. You know, it's like, I don't know,
Right,
Yep.
like
right.
release anything. So, but
And it's so, yeah, exactly. You know, when it gets down to like what you do, Megan, and just these crime cases, do people not think that would be another avenue by which to brainwash and control us and put us in states of fear? Like, I remember one of the biggest things during the Watts case was it made people not trust their husbands, not
Yeah.
trust their families, and you know, their neighbors, their husbands, their boyfriends. It caused this distrust. Like, my gosh, if Chris Watts can do this to this
Yeah.
beautiful family, then what about my
Exactly.
husband? What about my brother? What about my dad? You know,
Yeah.
whatever. It
Even
just,
if
it
they're
was,
the nicest, most, you know, the greatest husband, they
yeah.
don't show any signs of violence or, you know,
No
and
criminal
one day they
history.
just snap. Like, that's scary. That would be scary. That's a scary thought. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah.
And look at
Like-
how it, and like, I remember when you were going over that a lot and people got straight up mad at you for
Yeah.
suggesting, and Allison talks about this where she
that
was
they might
like,
be alive. It's like, that is not a good thing.
or
Yeah.
that they might have been sacrificed, because
Oh,
that
yeah.
very well could have happened too.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't know. But the fact is, it's like that case stinks. There's so many holes in it, so many underlying agendas in it, you know, between the DA, the oil companies. Nicole Kessinger herself has always stood out as like, you know, a strange character in all of this.
Mhm.
Whose dad at 30 years old gets to go into
Yeah.
interviews with them? Who gets to direct the interviews with the police, call them by a first name, and then poof, disappear? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's just strange. And so, and then this was the other thing. I got to just get this in because this has always bothered me. Chris Watts admitting to these horrendous crimes allegedly against his family, or not even allegedly, he admits to it, but we just don't know if it's true or not,
Mhm.
right? But he admits to doing these horrendous things. Yet he says he witnessed things with Nicole and her friends so dark that he would take it to his grave. You can admit to that, but you can't say what your girlfriend and her friends were up to. I think that's weird. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's really weird. And it's like, I just really want to know what it was, because I don't think it was just like gay acts or something, you know, like that is not even remotely comparable to what happened, what supposedly happened to his daughters and his wife and son. So, you
Like,
know,
I definitely
that,
don't have a, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go.
I was just saying, I don't have all the answers. I definitely don't have all the answers, but all I know is when you look at it from my theory and my perspective, like, everything makes sense. Like, it really, like, it answers all the questions that people have been asking, like, why this, why that, why, like,
Yeah.
why did the DA do this? Why did they do that? Because they can literally legally do it and not have any repercussions from it. Like, but if you look at like all the questions that people are asking over and over again, like, everything fits with like my theory, with that
Yeah.
theory, with the orchestration theory. It really does. And I
Yeah.
can sleep at night, you know, like,
Yeah.
some people probably
And
couldn't
at
sleep
least
at
you're
night.
willing to ask the appropriate questions.
Yeah.
You know, and look at it in an honest way. It doesn't mean I haven't figured out, you haven't figured out, anybody has it. I mean, clearly most people don't have it figured out. You know, look at all the different theories surrounding that. And
Yeah.
I think, like you said, when you look at it in terms of a psyop and how those operate, you know, the first thing is it worldwide known, and it just doesn't stop, and it's just pounded into your head, and it's
Mhm.
hits you emotionally in the gut. And those are like the first rules of a psyop. So
Yeah, the best way to control people is with fear.
mhm, mhm.
And it's
And
kind
to
of like
hit
when
you
they,
emotionally, hit you
yeah.
in your gut, so you'll just agree to things, you know, and yeah.
And
So
that's the problem with a lot of these true crime creators or channels, is that a lot of them think with their emotions, because I'll hear them, they'll go, oh my God, it's terrible. And then they'll play the like of the girls. And it's like, you can't, like, if you're a detective, if you're an actual real life homicide detective, if you walk into a murder scene and you see that a child and a mother's murdered, and if it affects you emotionally, you should not work that case.
you
Why?
got to step
Because
away.
it will distract you and keep
It'll
you
cloud
from
your
looking at, exactly,
it'll cloud
from
your
seeing
judgment.
facts and evidence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't, like, emotions aren't facts, is what I always say.
Yeah.
But
And you're exactly right. And like my cousin, they're divorced now, but she was married to a district detective in Indianapolis, and I was asking him about this. And he's doesn't know anything about true crime because he deals with real crime. Like true crime even is a term
yeah,
that even that in of itself, it's an industry, it's a business. I think it is when I stepped away from it all, I'm like, that is crazy. Look at the money generated alone. And it's all these people stay tied up in every day and lives and this and that, and people are making money left and right on every angle of this stuff. And I heard a creator once, somebody in their chat said, I can't wait for the new cases coming up. And they said, yeah, me too. And then they
so they
caught
can't wait for people
themselves.
to die.
That's
That's
what
what you were saying.
I was like, what are they just,
Wow.
they can't wait for the next person to be raped and murdered? Like
Oh
that's
my
just
gosh.
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That person caught themselves and they said, well, I know it sounds weird, but it's a distraction from my own anxieties. And I'm like, I get that because it did serve that purpose for me at first. I was in a really bad place. I found community and all of that. But I just I eventually I stepped away and I started feeling like this is really weird to just revel in this all day, every day. And especially when you start to realize that not all of these are, a lot of them probably are not genuine cases, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying all of them because murder happens, unfortunately, child abuse happens. I felt like, why can't we get the entire true crime community going after trafficking? If everybody put their efforts towards that, maybe we would put a crack in that egg,
If everybody
a
showed up at
real one.
work store and demanded answers, probably
Right.
get somewhere. But nobody wants to do that. They just want to sit in a
No.
chat room and see if they can figure out the case. Like,
Right. And play detective, which
yeah,
it's like, I'm not trying to dog people, but yeah, you're right. And it's interesting, but it's just not something that I'm, want to participate anymore. And I've told Allison for the longest time that what she does is different, in my
yeah.
opinion. She connects with the family members and she doesn't deal with these cases that are known worldwide, talked about constantly.
I won't.
And you actually and you stick with a few cases of real people that real
Mhm.
things have happened to. You connect with their family. And it's not just for one interview that you can get a bunch of subs off of or a bunch of likes off
No.
of. It's
Mhm.
to form relationships and actually try to help them. And you can see how they support you back, So
Yep.
I think what she does is really
I agree.
interesting. It's different
Yeah.
than anything I've seen. But I'm not saying I know every
You
channel or
will
whatever.
never see me talking about a true crime case that everybody else is talking about unless it's something that I'm talking with Megan about it. Because
Expose it or something.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's so many missing people in this world. There's so many unsolved murder. I don't even know if I can say,
And that's the thing that, like, really is the only part of it that where my emotions they'll start to get to me, is the fact that there's so many people that are advocating for, Bella and Cece or these people and these, like,
Mhm.
but what about all, and I did a live stream on it in dedication to the people that are not being,
Not even
their
being
memories aren't true, like,
mentioned.
'cause they didn't even know. Yeah, they don't even know. Like, what about all these there's hundreds of people that are murdered all the time.
Listen,
Like,
we agreed from the get that the Gabby Petito case was one of those that was like, that was so rife with symbolism. It was
yeah,
ridiculous.
I
It was
know.
just
That was,
flat out there.
yeah,
While
they
that's
threw up
happening,
they threw up symbolism all over the place. They're like,
Yep.
right, they were just like, we're just going to
yeah.
give it all to you.
So
But
I had a heyday with
right
that
as
one.
that was happening, there were 5,600 missing and red rummed
Yeah.
indigenous people in the state of Utah alone. Do you think any of them were being talked about? Nope.
No.
Nope. And when, my friends kept telling me, oh, because, to get out of your head, Jenny, you need to start a channel. And so I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. I want to, but I didn't want to do what everybody else was doing.
Mhm.
And that was one angle that I had, had thought about going down, but then I just in the end decided I just didn't. And I still haven't really done anything. All I have on my channel is shooting videos because I enjoy it, and why not? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
I haven't really gotten into anything, nothing even like this. I've got a ton of resources. I know a ton of people in the cryptid community and in the, I guess, conspiracy community, if that's what you want to call it. Mostly in the cryptid community, but it's sort of like one lens to the other in a lot of ways. But I just haven't gotten started yet. Life hasn't really permitted it, and that's okay. I may do it, I may never do it. We'll see. But that was so shocking to me when I read that statistic, and I thought, here everybody is talking about this girl, and Utah's being talked about constantly, and she's not even from there. And here are 5,600
Mhm.
missing or oft unsolved cases of indigenous people from that state, and not a one is even being talked about at all.
Yeah, I think I
And
covered in my live stream in dedication or in honor to like the others that weren't being talked about. I can't remember how many women were murdered in Colorado that year or something. It was like, I don't want to put a number, but in the 20s or something. But like,
Yeah.
what about them? But the
Yeah,
only one they're talking about is Shanann and the girls, because that's why you have mainstream media, to get it out there to as many people as possible. That's what they're there for. But
yeah.
Allison, you don't have to keep this on the screen anymore. So people
Oh,
can see it, but
you don't want to.
well, I know
Okay.
I do, but I felt bad because they were just staring at that. So
Oh,
No,
will you
go
let me
ahead
know
and
when you
I
when
wasn't
you
even
want
looking
me
at my
to?
phone. Go ahead and pull it back up and go over it, Megan. I'll
it's not.
set my
It's.
crap.
I mean, I was just gonna read them just to show you. I just thought it was crazy, but yeah,
Yeah.
this is on the World Economic Forum. But this is a channel that I watch. Actually, it's Value Entertainment, or PBD. I could put the link in the chat if you want. But
Yes, please
they're
do.
who I kind of go to for now for source, like for news.
Good, because I need more
And
of those.
they were the ones that were talking about the Obama movie, right? And when they came out with that, and that's what I was excited about it when I did that community post. I was like, excuse my language, fuck yeah, because they got
Yeah,
they got 5
it's
million
crazy.
viewers, and they're on there talking about predictive programming and the Heidelberg
Yeah.
dialectic, and I'm like, all right, this is good. It's like,
Yeah.
we need 5 million people to see that.
Right.
So, but so
I
anyways,
was talking to Allison that day, and when she was like, "Have you seen that movie?" I'm like, "I'm putting it on right now." The beginning credits, producers, Barack and Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
She didn't see it at first. She didn't see it, I think, till the end, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh! Like that alone should tell you this is bonkers." But go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It
Yeah,
all is.
a cybersecurity attack or whatever on like, but by former U.S. president. That's weird. That's bizarre.
Right.
Yeah, the boy wearing
Talking
the
about a
NASA
cyber attack.
shirt.
A U.S. president making a movie that can scare the shit out of people, like, that's
Right.
insane. But
Mhm.
so anyway, so this isn't from the World Economic Forum's. It is, but it's not the actual website. This is from the podcast that I watch.
Okay.
It's just easier for me to find. So,
I gotcha.
okay, so I won't play it just in case there's copyright or whatever, but or I'll mute it. So yeah, you'll own nothing and be happy. Like, so this is if you become a member, right? This is the predictions and the future for everybody. If you want to, I think that's what he's saying. But yeah, the predictions for 2023. Okay, so you'll own nothing and be happy, and then I think there's 8 of them. Wait, let me go back on my video here. Okay, skip. All right. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. Instead, a handful of countries will dominate. Okay. Oh, I went to 4. There's what you were mentioning, Jen, about the meat, right?
Yeah.
You won't die waiting for an organ donor. Instead, we won't transplant organs. We'll print new ones.
Of course.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I mean, I want to print.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. Okay, yeah. So you'll eat much less meat.
Not me.
Not me.
Yeah.
I'm a meat and tater girl.
Yeah, that's right.
A billion
I need
people
my
will be
bison, my
displaced by
venison, and
climate
my beef.
change.
What is it?
A billion people will be displaced by climate change.
Okay, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Do you notice how they keep changing it too? Somebody
Yep.
mentioned that, like, it's like global warming, and then it's climate change, and then it's whatever, and then it's
Yeah.
geoengineering, and then it's like, why do you guys keep changing it? Like,
Because they keep
Okay.
trying to confuse people.
yeah,
As soon as you catch on, they're like, "Oh, we're just like New World Order. Now it's global governance." It's like they keep changing the term trying to get
Yeah.
people to think it's something different. It's not. It's the same old
Mhm.
song and dance, same old pony show, just retitled, rebranded. That's what. Why do you think this whole branding thing came in? This is my brand, you know, and
Yeah, yeah.
rebranding companies. Well, they rebrand their agendas too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so 5 will have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees.
Okay.
So we're not doing
Wow.
we're not welcoming very well. Okay. All right, moving on. Why is it buffering? Hold on. Like I'm not even playing it. It's buffering. Okay. So he talks about that. Where's the Sorry, I just don't want you to get copyright in case he does. Okay.
Well, I put a fair use thing as long as you pause it. I think. I don't know. I think that's how it works. And I'm
Oh,
gonna
and then you comment in between it.
Yeah.
yeah, and make sure you put his link in the chat because I do want to give him credit. Plus, I want to go sub.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so we can do that.
To emit carbon dioxide, there will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. Number 7, you could be preparing to go to Mars.
And notice the price on
You can
carbon.
repeat-
We're
What's that?
made of carbon. Hello.
Yeah.
You know, the carbon tax, like we are carbon.
Mm.
So is everything else. So be more specific, people.
Like I had no idea. Like somebody was showing me their cell phone bill that they just purchased for purchasing a phone. There was on the phone for purchasing it was there was a city tax, and then there was a state tax, and then there was a what was the other one, like an area code tax. I don't know, but it's like, isn't that all part of like the state tax? Like, but I just thought it was
Wow.
crazy. Like there was
You
like
would think.
$30 in just all different, like an area code tax. Like I'm like, zip code tax. I'm like, what? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. And
I
you
need
know,
to check
another
my
thing
bill out.
regarding real quick, I'll tell you about the phone. We're T-Mobile. We're on T-Mobile, which used to be Verizon, at least in our area. I don't know how that is across the country, but and we got a notice from them. It's just like an alert on our phones, and it talks about they have these tiers of fines. If they find that they disagree with any of the verbiage you're using in your voicemails, your text messages, or
Oh,
while you're talking on the phone, you can face $1,000 fine,
what?
$1,500 fine, $2,000 fine. Yeah.
We're in
T-Mobile.
trouble.
I know.
Jerry just said, "Yep."
I was like, I'm gonna get a big old bill in the mail. I'll tell you that much.
Can they do that legally?
I don't know. They're like saying
Megan?
these are the terms
oh, I don't
of
know.
service.
I don't know about that. Yeah, I mean, if it's in the terms of service and people don't read the fine print, then I don't. I mean, that's
I'm going
Right,
to
and
talk to
I-
US Cellular tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to old Kyle and find out what's going on. Jerry says I have AT&T. I've got US Cellular.
I have
That's scary
AT&T.
stuff there.
Yeah. And it's like most people are not
Jerry.
gonna read that notification, right? And you know me, I'm like, what does that say?
Oh hell, I'll have freaking $100,000 in fines and
Right? Right?
That's funny.
wow.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's crazy.
I know.
Oh my God, can you imagine how they're trying to sell to people around the world? Scientists will have worked out how to keep you healthy in space. Science will work out how to keep you healthy
What
in
did that
space.
say? I couldn't
The
read
start
it.
of a journey to find
Science. Go ahead.
Yeah, scientists will have worked out how to keep you healthy in space.
Okay.
This is what people have to look forward to from the World
Yeah.
Economic Forum. And
Well, did you
How to
see?
keep
Have
you
you guys
healthy in
seen? I asked Alice and Megan. Have you seen that Oreos?
Oh yeah, I was at Walmart. Remember?
We were in Meyer the other night, and we're walking, and I'm just like,
Space
look at
Oreos
those.
or something?
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that
these
what-
like
yeah, I saw those.
space
Yeah,
dunk or something. I'm like, look at
Yeah.
those disgustingly neon cookies.
yeah.
And we're looking at it, and then I'm like, wait, what does it say? Win a trip to space? And so I
Yep.
go up and I take a picture of the thing and the fine print, and I send it to Alice. She goes, I literally just saw that 10 minutes ago at Walmart.
Yep.
And it was just funny because it was like, it said it's like this what do you call it, like this contest. You
Yeah.
enter your name, you have to be 18, you have to meet these certain parameters, and then then you get to go to space, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be one of the, some family members that is in the Illuminati going or whatever.
Yeah,
It
right.
Who
Yeah.
won't be
knows?
anybody normal.
Yeah, right.
And I always wonder if even if the lottery's real, because it's like, and it seems like a lot of the ones that win, or the
Yeah.
majority, are ones in very small towns, like,
Yep.
like like the heartwarming stories, like, oh, in a little town in Iowa, like they
Yeah.
won the.
And
I don't
look
know.
at there's people that have won it more than once.
Yes,
Yeah, that's-
exactly.
And it's like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
Jason, my late partner, he was like, oh, it's bullshit. The lottery is not real at all. And
Yeah.
he just would rail about that. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and we're like, we're bankrupt, like, I mean, not
Right.
bankrupt, but we're in debt, but we have all this millions of dollars to like give away to people.
Billions.
Yeah,
Those
like, yeah.
whatever
Mm.
they're called, the mega whatever.
Mega Millions.
It's like how somebody explain that to me. I don't get it.
I don't know.
It's because
Um,
those checks are so big, I think, that they can fit more zeros on them now or something.
Space. Science will work out how to keep you
So
healthy
what's number
in
7?
space.
Oh.
The start of a journey
Scientists will. Oh, okay. Oh, that was 6. Okay.
to find alien life. Number 8, Western values will have been tested.
Can
for the
you read them,
breaking point.
Megan? I cannot
Checks and
see.
balances that
Yeah.
He's
Okay.
reading them.
Can you not hear?
No,
You
I
can't
can
hear
hear
him
you
talk?
now, but I couldn't hear you reading them.
No, can you hear him on the video talking?
Oh, no, I can't hear that. No.
Oh, how weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll read them. I'll go back to 7. Do you want me to go back to 6? Did you see 6?
Just goes do 7. Yeah, you read
Okay.
6 to me.
7. Okay, you could be preparing to go to Mars. Okay, so here's the thing with Elon, right? Elon's starting to grow on me for a while there. I'm like, I don't like this guy. I don't like him. He's weird. I think he's probably an alien as well. But there's certain things that he's been doing. He's been growing on me. I'm not fully convinced yet. But the whole just making people think that they're gonna go to Mars, and even if you could get to Mars, like only the people that can afford it can go. And if
Right.
you go, it's gonna be like a one-way trip, even if you make it there.
Yeah.
Like the living conditions on there are so hostile, like 400-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, what science tells us, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're to believe that, there's not enough oxygen, so you'd be wearing a spacesuit the entire time. Like,
And apparently you can only grow potatoes in your own poop. So I don't know
that's
how
what they
that
said.
would
That's what they
work.
said.
That is disgusting.
So I can't grow potatoes with Allison's poop. It only works with my poop, or
I guess
or
just
you
your
need
own
to poop in
personal
general.
poop,
You
whatever
don't
you
want
want.
to use my poop.
Just people poop. Okay.
Just people poop, I think.
Yeah.
It was in that movie Mars with Matt Damon. I think it's called
Oh.
Mars, and he
Oh,
gets stuck there, and he's got has to live off potatoes that he grew in his poop for like a year or something
Yeah.
crazy. I can't really remember, but
Oh
I think it's
my.
fertilizer. Oh,
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Okay, 7. You could be preparing to go to Mars.
could be preparing to go to Mars. Oh my God, can you imagine how they're trying to sell the people around the world? Scientists will have worked out how to keep you healthy in space. Science.
Oh, I saw that part. Okay. Okay. The start of a journey to find alien life.
Okay.
Really, the thing with when you guys were talking about aliens a little bit ago, like I used to think there's no way that we could be the only people in this entire universe. Like,
Yeah, me too.
but then just the way that they push it so much in movies and the government push, like if they wanted to keep Area 51 secret, or they want to keep certain things secret, they would keep it secret.
Yeah.
So all this stuff always gets released. It's
And for the longest time, look at how many UFO whistleblowers and researchers were straight up getting whacked.
yeah.
Look at Phil Snyder. I mean, he's one example, but there are lots, I would have to go back and look up names and so forth. But, having been plunged in that world for a long time, you see a lot of examples of it. But this was back before they were ready for this to come out. And I think we're just closer, my personal opinion, we're just closer to the ability to do that false flag alien invasion.
Yeah.
The Greys will come and attack, and
Well, that's why they have so many movies and
cause
that's
upheaval, the evil Greys, and then okay, so I have a personal friend that told me nearly 30 years ago that she was being abducted all the time. She had lost 12 pregnancies that they were just gone. If you listen to L.A. Marzulli's theory on how this all ties together, it's like, wow, between cattle mutilations and these pregnancies that are taken, the evolution, when you listen to witnesses of what their hybrid babies used to look like, and over time, like they start to look more and more human, and they eventually start looking like the black-eyed kids. Now that comes on the scene. It's wild. And
What's that person's name
bovine
again?
blood is compatible with humans. Huh?
What's that person's name again? You mentioned
L.A. Marzulli.
okay, how do you spell that? Is it
It's just capital L capital A
Oh, okay.
Marzulli. Check out his work. I mean, he's totally from through a Christian lens on all of this. He talks about he does this whole series called The Watchers and On the Trail of the Nephilim. He's really interesting dude. But it's I don't know, it's a trip. And he's like, a lot of people don't know this, and I did look it up. He's like, look it up yourself, but bovine blood is compatible with humans, and he thinks they're making artificial wombs from the cattle mutilations, all this DNA, and they're always bloodless, and they just get plopped back in a farmer's field where they could dispose of those things anywhere. So part of that, there's a fear tactic there. There's like, this harvesting of this DNA and blood and certain organs, and he thinks they're making artificial wombs for these hybrid babies to like form in, that they're taking from these other alien abductees, which a friend of mine told me this before before I had seen all these documentaries and stuff of women around the world all reporting essentially the same thing. She said she and her boyfriend, they were living out on this river, and that's pretty close to Lake Michigan. And they were in this like cool apartment, and their bedroom would just light up bright white, but it was like the brightest light you've ever seen, but it didn't hurt your eyes for some reason. And they would be conscious, but paralyzed in their beds, levitated out of their bed and either taken through the ceiling, through the wall, through the window, whatever, meaning that was like either psychologically done, or it was literally being dematerialized so that they could move through a solid object, brought into a ship, and then experimented on, and then they'd wake up back in their bed. And her boyfriend at the time that this was happening to with her, she started she was having to drink and take Xanax all the time just to like deal. And so was he ended up taking a rope and putting it around his neck and ending things that way because he could not take it anymore. He just could not handle this. Happened. I knew this person.
Wow.
And because he could not take the trauma this was causing them both. Nobody believed her. She lost her kid. She met this other guy, and he believed her when he met her enough to date and then get married and have a kid with. But when when they got a divorce, it didn't work out. They went to court. He told the judge she was crazy. She thinks she's being abducted. So she lost custody of her son right then and there, which I think is evil. Then just like right before I met Joe, so that'd be about 2 years ago in the summer, that ex-husband of hers, now they had been like almost like him and his new wife had been like almost, they were tormenting her. They do drive-bys around, like almost like this gang stalking type thing to her. And it was just to mess with her. And wouldn't you know, that ex-husband took a kitchen knife and plunged it into his wife right in front of their 3 kids and then took off with their son. He was caught. The kid was fine. But she explained everything to the detective, and he felt for her. He said he believed her, and he expedited custody to her immediately. And so this happened to a friend of mine. And so, you hear these things, and these things have stuck with me over the years. Then you hear all of this from around the entire world of this happening to people, to women. And it's it's like there's different nuances, but it's like this common thread of the main details in it. And it's always the grays. And it's like, I think, I don't know, I'm not alone in this. So this false flag alien invasion, the grays will come in and they will, bomb and scare, or whatever, laser beam and scare the crap out of everybody and kill a lot of people and cause all this mayhem. And then these Nordics, these Pleiadians or whatever, will come in and because they're the peace loving, they're supposed to be our friends. Well, if they are, why are they not intervening on some of this stuff sooner? If they're
Mhm.
so much better and brighter and peaceful and evolved and all this, well, they're going to come in and save the day, right? And then this will bring in, like, it kind of goes with the biblical narrative too, where someone's going to come in, save the day, and with everybody will fall for their quote unquote technology, magic, whatever you want to call it. And they'll heal, they'll do this, they'll do that, and then that ushers in the Antichrist. So I
Yeah.
don't know for sure. I'm just
So-
saying, like, none of this would shock me if it
Yeah,
happened.
yeah,
you
no,
know?
I know. Yeah. I think that, yeah, I wouldn't be
Exactly.
surprised about anything. So I heard it like something interesting. I've been looking into like DMT a lot. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but dimethyltryptamine is a psychedelic, psychedelic. And what through research that they found is just trying to remember how like they worded it. Something along like so like when you have like a DMT trip, that people will often talk about seeing alien like entities and
Right.
and go into these realms, and they feel like they have an outer body experience similar to what your friend was describing, or the person you knew, and that kind of like astral projection,
Right.
like what's it called, when you're paralyzed, what is it, or the sleep
Sleep
paralysis?
paralysis.
Yeah, it's like similar to that. So they are kind of theorizing that maybe a lot of these alien encounters have to do with dimethyltryptamine, because we naturally produce it in our bodies.
Yeah.
Now we don't usually produce enough of it to trip daily, and also because our pineal glands are so calcified that
Right.
that it's not, you're not able to.
We
unless you're
produce
in-
it at birth and we produce it at death.
Yeah, and
And
that's probably
supposedly.
explains why like children usually see more spiritual things than adults do, because their pineal glands are not
Right.
calcified yet. But so I don't know. I just found that kind of interesting that
Yeah.
that could possibly be a reason for that. Where people are saying that the
Right.
people that lucid dreams could be very, very real, or seem very real.
A lot
And
of people say that is more real than their normal reality.
Yeah,
Like than their waking reality. Do you know who Timothy Alberino is? Have you ever heard of him?
I haven't.
You should check him out too. He's really interesting, super fascinating, and very intelligent and articulate guy. And he talks about pretty much all the same stuff we've talked about tonight in one way or another.
Okay.
And
Yeah, no, I
he
like
was
hearing about you people.
he spent a lot of time down in he went down to Peru to investigate that whole face eaters alien thing. But he's lived down there prior to this. And so he knows a lot of the indigenous people down there. And he had gone down there and he was doing some prayer stuff, some Christian work down there, and they were holding some prayer sessions and stuff, and they had shamans doing ayahuasca, which is just like the long version of DMT. It's the same
It's the
chemical compounds.
MAOA in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they were doing those retreats right next door. And it's all very ritualistic and everything. And they literally came over to his little compound, and they asked him if his group could stop praying to Christ while they were doing their retreats, because it wasn't working. And you should listen to his thing about ayahuasca. He's like, it's a lie. He believes, and a lot of, like you've listened to Graham Hancock and other people, they say they are absolutely in touch with other entities. They are real. It's not a figment of your imagination. It's not, your brain isn't just, telling you you're encountering somebody. And again, this kind of goes to the Nephilim and the byproducts of them. In other words, these alien entities or these other entities are like fallen angels, making you think that there's like other dimensional entities, or even intergalactic or take your, pick a card. And that it is again just all part of this great deception. And they think that these drugs have been used through every ancient culture. When you look at the priesthoods, it's all part of the mystery schools and the secret knowledge and all this other stuff. With the Egyptians, it was the blue lotus. With the Mayans and Aztecs, it was ayahuasca. Just again, take your pick. With Oracle of Delphi, they had these vapors coming up that they believe, it's said anyway, that they were it could have been something natural from the earth, but they've also heard it said that there were like these pots underneath them, and they would just fumigate them with these psychedelics, and then they would tell the future or whatever. They would be in touch with otherworldly entities, and this could be just all the demonic and all part of this great deception to confuse humanity into thinking, like, just again, take your pick, like all these different threads and lines of your existence, and ultimately it's all to pull you away from the one true God. So I don't know, it's really fascinating, but you should take a look at it
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just see what you think yourself. But he's talked to a lot of shamans, and I thought that was interesting. It's like, why would praying to Jesus, Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, why would that interrupt their rituals? Why would that cause their rituals not to work
Wow.
if it wasn't demonic?
That is
it's
crazy.
Yeah.
Why would Jesus's name stop a dogman encounter, an alien abduction, a ghost encounter, like just paranormal? Just put it under that umbrella. There's got to be something to that, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know. It's just mind-blowing, fascinating, and it has nothing to do with NASA, but we're talking about it anyway.
I
Yeah.
know. That's what's good about this. We can talk whatever we want to talk about.
But the thing is it's all, to me, I feel like it's all connected.
It is.
Me
all
too.
falls down into the same
It
deception
absolutely
category.
is.
It all comes
I
full
feel like
circle,
we're still
doesn't
staying
it?
on the same path. But
Yeah, it
Yep,
all comes
you're
full
right.
circle. That's why I was saying it almost doesn't matter what rabbit hole you go down. You encounter Satan, Lucifer, the demonic, the old gods, the fallen angels, the Nephilim. Like, it doesn't, it's all, that's all part of the same club, right? Or the Masons or the whatever. Satanic ritual abuse. I mean, whether you're looking at trafficking, government projects, these cryptids, UFOs. I mean, just it's really wild. And that was like, I kept saying before, like, there's this common thread and I just can't quite put my finger on it. And then all of a sudden, boom, that's the common thread. And I'm just going to boil it down to like one word: Satan. And if you think about it, he is the great deceiver, the master of confusion, deception, convolution, all of these things meant to confuse us and pull us away from God. And now you get into AI, you get into all this genetic tampering. It's all to cause, it's to actually change our DNA so that we are no longer human. We're no longer God's creation. That's another thing. Timothy Alberito, he's got a book called Birthright, and he goes deep into this, that we are the son of Adam, and we are the children of Adam, and this earth was made for us and everything on it. And if the great deceiver is trying to take that away from us because he's jealous of the love that God has for us, the forgiveness that God has for us, and all of this that he did not get himself, because he talked the watchers, these fallen angels, into coming down and sleeping with human women and creating the Nephilim, which were these giants. And that springs from there, all of these bloodlines, which happen to be coincidentally the richest families in the world and the people that run everything.
Yep.
It's just really interesting. It's just really interesting.
Yeah.
So
just one last thing I wanted to say, I guess, about like the alien thing is, for me personally, it comes with anything. It's hard for me to believe in something that I can't physically see for myself. Like, and I know that's when it comes down to beliefs, like religion, but so for instance, like if somebody tells me like that they can astral project and they tell me this crazy wild, but everything that sounds wild and crazy to me, like it doesn't mean that it's not true,
Right.
but it's just, I'm going to have to, I'm not going to automatically discredit it and go, oh, you're crazy astral projecting. That's stupid. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to believe it, but I'm also not going to I'm not going to discredit it, but I would have to do more research before I come. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
people are so quick to just go, oh, that person's crazy or that person's crazy before even like thinking, well,
Yeah.
maybe I
Well,
should do
and
more research on it, or
look
like,
how many
but
people would just call us crazy just for this conversation.
but,
You
like,
know,
so like when it comes
we
to
know we're not.
paranormal, like I've actually seen like an paranormal, like an apparition. So like that was so in my face, so that it's like, okay, yes. So I'm very, very spiritual when it comes to like that. But
Yeah.
like things like the aliens, like I'm not saying that they don't exist, but I'm not saying they do either because I don't know. I haven't seen
Right.
it for myself. So me personally, it's very hard for me to believe something that I can't physically see.
Right.
So
Well, and I forgot to mention this about my friend that this happened to with the alien abduction. So I talked to her. So she told me all of this almost 30 years ago. And we lost touch, but after that just sparked my interest in UFOs, aliens, all of this, and sent me down this whole like multi-decade rabbit hole, right? And I got back in touch with her. We got back in touch with each other on Facebook, and this was probably about 5 years ago. Well, and we just talked about light stuff, and then finally I worked up the courage to ask her about it about through 3 years ago maybe, and I went over to hang out with her one night. It was late, and to be honest, I went over to smoke one with her. I don't do that anymore, but what doesn't matter, whatever. And we were just sitting out under the stars talking, and I said to her, I was like, hey, and mind you, these decades of this has taken a toll on her physically. I wouldn't say mentally, but like emotionally for sure. And physically, she just seems frail. She's such a pretty girl and such a sweet girl. And it's just sad all she's been through over this. It's really ruled a lot of her life. And so I was trying to be delicate about it. And I said, hey, I just wondered if you'd ever be willing to talk about that. And I pointed up to the sky, and she looks at me and she's like, what, aliens? And I said, yeah. She's like, she looks at me, and in the weakest little voice, she goes, you believe me? And I said, I've always believed you. I said, but I didn't have the right questions to ask at the time. I didn't have context for it. This was like so new to me. And so then I asked her if she had ever heard of Dogman, because I was down that rabbit hole. And she looked at me and she goes, Jenny, it's all demonic. Just stay away from it. That's what she said to me. She said all of it was demonic. And again, that stuck with me because I've never known her necessarily to be a Christian. I don't know. But I just, in our conversations, that never really came up. So it really struck me that that was her takeaway on all of this. And I asked her, are they still taking you? And she said, no, but you got to remember, she's a little bit older now and not of childbearing ages anymore. And she said, no, but I get downloads almost daily. Like they still talk to her and try to, I guess, tell her stuff. And then we haven't had another conversation. I've been trying to track her down again because my Facebook account got shut down for some odd reason. And probably because the shit I talk about. But and so just recently, and I was in our hometown not long ago, and I drove up and down the street. I was at her house, but I'm driving up and down and up and down. I'm like, I think that's a house, but it's got a different last name on the garage, and so I don't want to just stop there. So I reached out to another friend trying to make contact. It hasn't happened yet, but I have a lot of questions for her. I'll tell you that much. But there's just, how it is where certain things stick with you and it sends you down a path of inquiry. And that was one of them. I was like, wow, that really kind of blew me away. And that was in conjunction with a lot of other accounts of that. There's a woman named Karen Wilkinson that was on my friend Tony's podcast, Confessionals, not too long ago. She tells almost the same story verbatim as my friend as these events went throughout her experience. And her end conclusion is they're demonic. It's the Nephilim. And so, like, my opinions on this are not based on nothing, And it's more than that. It's a lot more than that, but that's just two examples of how I've landed at where I'm at with that, you know?
Yeah.
Damn it,
But-
I've been sitting here feeding my face of pretzel bites and talking. I was wondering why nobody. I had myself on mute.
Oh my gosh.
no.
I'm serious.
even-
I know. I felt like we were taking over.
I
No.
know.
I'm eating pretzel bites. I love them. I'm addicted.
They are.
You know, I know somebody else that loves those too.
Oh gosh, I bought some for the Super Bowl party, and I can't stop eating them.
With the
But
peanut
I
butter
do
in the middle?
believe that aliens are demonic. You know, I don't, you know, all these aliens with the big heads and the little small bodies, and you know, like the people in, where was it? Las Vegas or wherever, Arizona, where they said they landed in the backyard and all these
Las
lights.
Vegas. Yep.
Okay, tell me
No,
this.
no, Phoenix. You're talking about Phoenix. You're talking about the Phoenix lights.
Phoenix.
No,
yes,
no, he's
Arizona.
talking.
No,
Oh, I thought you were talking about
no,
Las
I am.
Vegas
I'm
where they
talking
landed in
about
the
just here
backyard.
recently. In the
Yeah,
backyard.
that was Las Vegas. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, it's recent. Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
yes, they said
recently this
they-
happened.
Even
Mm.
the cops seen it. But with all
Yep.
the technology in this world, why can't somebody take a damn picture?
Oh, yeah, and a semi decent.
Well, because
video.
he said that when he looked at them, they almost had like a force. He just said force field because he didn't know what else to call it, but they were blurry, visually blurry. And there are some photos out there where you can see, you can make one out. Same thing with the Peruvian aliens, where you see this bulbous head and these big
Yes.
black wraparound eyes.
Shay,
And those
Shay has a
cops-
picture.
The
Shay
cops,
actually seen one, and she said it was huge. I mean,
Yep.
Shay, how big was it? You put
and
it
then
in
you
here,
have the Miami Mall too.
quarter-mile long.
You have the
Sorry.
Miami Mall thing that just happened not long ago. And there was, so my friend John Bell talks about this, and he talked with somebody that was there. He was a maintenance guy, or no, not a maintenance guy. I'm sorry. He was painting a mural on the wall on the second floor, and he said he witnessed everything. And this is so crazy. He said that what started all of this is there were these really nicely dressed young kids. So I don't know if they were just like prep school type kids or what, I don't know, but there was a handful of them, and this is all got relegated to these gangs fighting. Well, have you ever seen so many police cars respond to anything? I mean, a terrorist attack, you don't see that many. So gang fighting, you don't see 100 cop cars pull up. Okay, that was just remarkable on its own. But this guy says that he saw everything, and these kids had this black box, and there's this whole history with this like black box, black cube thing, and that's a whole nother rabbit trail. Well, these kids were like, some of them put on what looked like these welding goggles, and they were like, do it, this is safe, go ahead and like start it. And this black box, all I can think is some rich kid whose parent is a scientist at some lab, like they stole some shit from their dad's lab or something, I don't know. But they turn this thing on, and this electricity starts flying, and all of a sudden this portal opens, and those entities popped out of there and just started walking around the mall. That is one person's account of the Miami Mall aliens.
Yep.
And mainstream news, the day after that happened, I'm like looking up everywhere. All I can find is 15 kids are sitting in jail for this gang fight. Well, there were shots fired there, and a lot of witnesses. All these people in the mall were running for their lives. Okay. Old, young, fat, thin, whatever, running for their lives. And but people reported hearing shots fired. Well, you know, I happen to live with the man that carries, and I know there's lots of people out there, especially in Florida. And this guy on the second floor said that there were people that were personally armed, and they were shooting at these things. Well, don't you think that would, if they weren't trying to cover that up, don't you think that they said it was fireworks going off? That's what the mainstream news said. Don't you think that'd be a perfect opportunity to come down on gun laws? You know, and they're not. So that's interesting to me, you know. I don't know. I just think there's so many wild things going on that we haven't seen the half of it yet, you know.
Yeah.
Did I lose you guys? I'm probably
No,
lost
no.
you
Yeah, I know.
mentally.
Do you want to talk about? Do you want to go back to NASA?
I want to. Well, is it okay, Allison, if I
Oh,
just cover
Apollo?
this Apollo
Yeah.
thing and then I'm gonna probably check out? I'm pretty
Yeah,
tired
me
and
too. I
Me
got to
too.
get up early and work all day. What picture you want me to bring up? The Apollo logo thing?
you can bring up the Apollo logo and then after that maybe post that black and white picture I
Okay.
sent
And then
you.
I
So
there was the picture of the
the
that one that we haven't
Apollyon.
brought up.
Well, that one is kind of different. That kind of goes back to we didn't even really do that. That was about Jack Parsons and Ron L. Hubbard doing the Babylon
Yeah, but
working
we did talk
ritual to
that
bring
was
in, and we
earlier.
did talk about that really on the last one with about the Statue of Liberty and where that
Yep.
all comes from. But so I was just looked up Apollo and kind of the Greek and Hebrew and where the how this falls back through history. So as I said before, Werner von Braun and Walter Dornberger were two major players in the Apollo mission. And so you think, well, why'd they name it Apollo? That's interesting. Even though NASA is full of esoteric names for every mission, every time they take off, everywhere they land, supposedly, everything they have, it all has like this occultic history. And so I thought, well, this is interesting. So Apollo was an Olympian deity in ancient Greece and Roman mythology. And he was the god of archery, music, dance, truth, prophecy, and the sun. So, like another sun god. Um, he was the son of Zeus and Leto, and he was the twin brother of Artemis, who's the goddess of the hunt, and I'm sure some other things. He was considered the most beautiful young man with no hair on his face. And I thought, well, that kind of starts to lean towards that androgyny thing that we see a lot come up in this. And so the Hebrew name for that is Apollyon. And I'm sorry, the Greek name is Apollyon. The Hebrew name is Abaddon, and it means the destroyer.
Yeah.
Then you keep moving on. So and also I thought this was interesting when I looked up images, just the image search for Apollyon, one thing that popped up was the Hindu god Shiva, who is the god of destruction. Also a beautiful young man with a hairless face, and he does the dance of destruction. And there happens to be a huge statue of this in front of CERN for some reason.
It's
Um,
crazy.
I know. Also, there was the Apollinaris was the name of the 15th Roman Legion and one of the four that destroyed the Temple of Jerusalem in 70 CE. So I thought that was interesting, like another just following how these names and these archetypes get kind of carried out through all of these cultures and history. And I just was going to read this little there's a huge I wrote down a huge section, but I narrowed it down to a smaller section of Revelation 9, and it reads they had so if you want like a horror movie, just read this. So they had tails like stingers of scorpions, and in their tails they had power to torment people for 5 months. They had a king over them, the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew was Abaddon and in Greek Apollyon, that is, the destroyer. The first woe is past. 2 other woes are yet to come. The 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming from the 4 horns of the golden altar that is before God. It said to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, quote, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great rivers Euphrates, unquote. And the 4 angels had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year and were released to kill a third of mankind. The number of troops was twice 10,000 times 10,000. And so, little interesting caveat there is, and there's other verses that speak on this as the Euphrates drying up and these fallen angels being released to take out a third of humanity. Well, what dried up the Euphrates? Like that's recent. So then another little tidbit that I thought was interesting was I found in Herodotus book 1, it talks about these names, and it says their names which agree with the nature of their persons and their nobility. So again, like resonating these names that connect with these archetypes. And um, King Cyrus told his troops when he was trying to get them in line, it says he told them a story or apology. Now we think of apology as saying you're sorry, but the archaic definition is an argument in defense of a position. So he tells them this story or apology, Apollyon, Apollo, so forth. He says, it says, once he said there was a flute player who saw fishes in the sea and played upon his flute, thinking so they would come out onto the land. Being disappointed of his hope, he took a net and gathered in and drew out a great multitude of fishes. And seeing them leaping, he says, quote, you best cease from your dancing now. You would not come out and dance then when I played for you. And I thought, that's interesting. Who else played a flute? Pan. Who's Pan? Satan. So
Satan.
it's like all of these connections that, and so it just brings you right back full circle. Why would they name that mission Apollo? Is it because it wasn't real? It's the beginning of this brainwashing of
Yeah.
America, of this like most pivotal accomplishment of man, and all the money that's been sunk into NASA, and and we're to believe everything that comes out of their mouth when we've been lied to about everything. It helps to control this narrative. And like what you were reading, Megan, on that website, that we're going to Mars, we're we're getting prepared to be healthy in space or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's just about like sort of again back to this great
Like that's what we
deception.
have to look forward to, eating less meat. That's your that's your
Yeah.
that's what you're
Right. And this promise
your
of space
whatever.
that none of us will probably ever see.
Right.
Probably because it is impossible. But
Yeah.
you know what? It gets people to give up a lot of tax dollars and a lot
Oh,
of faith in it,
absolutely.
and it gives them a lot of control.
I love the one where it says you'll own nothing and still be happy.
Right.
Like what?
Right.
Like I
Right.
thought,
And
You
you know
wanna
why
know
that
why?
is?
material
You
things
wanna
aren't
know
everything,
why?
but
I have a feeling I know why they're saying that, because that's where Nasara Jasara comes in, and what they're saying, because when that starts, they're going to pay off all of our loans, all of our bank loans, because they're going to come in and say that the banking industry's been corrupt. They're going to pay off our homes.
No
But
shit.
once they pay off our homes, they're going to own our homes. They're going to own
That's right.
us.
Yeah.
They're going to give everybody, let's say, $1,500 to live on. You can either work or you don't have to.
No,
That
you won't even be
$1,500.
able to, because robots will be doing it all. There won't even be most of the jobs. And on top of it, you're looking at the centralized banking currency, which you allow that, and you no longer have control over your money, because if you don't meet their social score, they'll shut you off.
They're
You
already
won't be
doing the
able,
social scoring.
right. And then
Yep.
on top of it, you allow that chip under your skin. Number one, you might just be allowing the mark of the beast if you look at things through a biblical lens. I don't know. Just saying, it's possible. And also, they have just absolute total control. And that is not even talking about their direct energy weapons, their frequency weapons that allow for full mind control. So, yep, Megan, you'll have nothing to be happy. You know why? Because they can blast frequencies at you that are picked up through that chip under your skin, and
yeah.
they can blast your dopamine centers and have you be working your fingers to nubs, or living in a virtual reality, doing nothing but not even living in reality, and you'll think you're happy. I mean,
Exactly.
this could come up from so many freaking angles that isn't even funny. They have,
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I say, I mean, we're being come at from every single angle. And it's a long game. This is not anything new.
Yep.
It's nothing new. This is a long game played out through generations. And Megan, you've talked about this, where, when you talk about the bloodlines and the Masons and all of this is like, these plans go way back. Way
Oh
back.
yeah, they're planned way in advance. Yeah. Our futures are already planned out for us, pretty much. It seems like,
Yeah.
you know.
From the time we were born,
And
probably.
as long as they keep us divided, just keep divided, whether it be racism or flat Earth
Sexism,
or whatever.
politics. Yeah.
Yeah, because they know like there's more of us than there are of them, and that's what
Yeah.
scares them. So as long as they keep us divided, we're no threat to them.
Yeah. We're transphobic. We're homophobic. I
Yeah.
mean, you again, pick a card. Pick a card. You know, they got people fighting over the jab and wearing masks, and look at the hatred that was fueled by just that alone. When the fact is, you can't even see either end of that, what you might be infected with by the disease itself or whatever. If you can say the V, I don't even know if you can say the V word on here.
The what word?
What, vagina? You can say that.
I know not vagina. You can say that all day long.
I'm just kidding.
The bug. Oh, let's put it
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way. Or the remedy, supposed remedy to that bug, right? And you got people just spewing hatred at each other, dragging each other out of stores, acting like full-blown lunatics. And then now you got mainstream media going, oh, we were lied to by the pharmaceutical companies. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Really? You know, it's all, like I said, it's remarkable to me. But you're exactly right. You keep people divided and arguing and bickering over stuff that these are social engineering projects.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to figure out one day that they were used for these agendas. And, you know, I'm not saying I've never fallen victim to it, because I have. I used to think, global warming was a thing, and I was all about, limiting this and doing that and so on and so forth. But then you see they're going to these Davos meetings every year, flying private jets, while they're
Mhm.
telling us that driving to work is tantamount to a crime and we're going to be taxed for it.
Yep.
The stupidest. I don't know, man. I'm getting tired of them producing all this garbage we don't need, trying to get us to be the biggest consumers, go in debt for it, up to your eyeballs, so you can consume the stuff that they make and push out there for you to buy, and then demonize you for participating in
Yeah.
the very society that they have constructed. It
Yep.
is once again bonkers. It's bonkers.
Or they
You
come up
know?
with this thing for conspiracy theorists, that because anytime you hear the word conspiracy theorist, they're crazy, right?
I can't
Um,
believe that shit still
when-
works.
Yeah, I know. When a conspiracy theorist, we just ask questions. That's smart, like you
Yeah.
should be asking questions.
But that word, that
Just the
those
term,
two words in of themselves is propaganda.
Yeah.
Created in like what, 57 or something? I
What
cannot
do they call it?
believe.
Ad hominem or something? I think that's the term for it too.
Yeah,
That's what she said.
it's shocking to me that people still. I wear it with pride, but I'm conspiracy realist, because we are rife with actual conspiracies. It is. I mean, it almost doesn't matter which direction you look, you'll find it. Actual conspiracies. How long did they deny UFOs were real? How long did they deny, what happened with JFK? Just a lot of things. And
How long were they telling us that Pluto was a planet, and now all of a sudden
Right.
the North Star? Like, how do you
Right.
fuck that up? Like, it's freaking how many years? And like, oh nope, we just decided that it's no longer
Yep.
a planet, and it's
Our
now.
narrative changed, so we're just
Yeah.
gonna re-indoctrinate you with some other information that's contradictory to the previous
So how can they
information.
call us conspiracy theorists when what we've been saying all this time, they're finally coming out saying, well, it's true,
And there's
Yeah.
been several conspiracy theories that have been proven.
Yeah.
too,
There's
so.
a ton of them,
Yep.
And so, even Project Paperclip, like I said at the very beginning of this
Mhm.
enormously long live stream, which I don't know if anybody will be able to get through, but Project Paperclip, whistleblowers talked about it and researchers talked about it, and they were conspiracy theorists, because that couldn't happen. We couldn't bring Nazis over here to put at the top of our industry, academia, space program, military, so on and so forth. It's like, yeah, but all you got to do is go to places. I'm sure there are in other places, but the Black Vault is a great resource for it. John Greenwald's The Black Vault.
That's a good website.
And read the papers for yourself.
Mhm.
Like I said in the beginning, don't believe us. Go do your own homework,
Yep.
and then, decide for yourself.
Yep. Our own government brought them in, and those people were coveted by Hitler.
Yep.
How nice. And
Why
like
would you
I
bring
said,
any foreign entities anyways? Because I mean that's our space program, isn't it? Like I don't know if that's a stupid question,
Right.
but like
Well,
why
they're
are
like,
Germans
oh, well,
working
these
on
are
our,
the these are the top minds in the field.
yeah,
And the thing is that when you get into the occult, I mean, this is like a whole other show, but when you get into the occultism of the Nazis, the Vril, the Thule Society, and just all of the occultic angles, like the Vril Society, those were the women that grew their hair really long because they thought they were antennas and they were speaking to aliens that were like hovering above New York. They would do seances. So they're doing all this like ritual to talk to aliens. Like that, is that not weird? If you're saying you're talking to Nephilim, that might make more sense. Or like the demonic, if you're doing like spiritual rituals, I don't
well,
know. It's just bizarre. And even the Vril Society, that word Vril, it when you track these words back and like Madame Blavatsky and Theosophy, I just read something not long ago that said Theosophy has got a new resurgence in Hollywood.
you
You know,
said
like
Hollywood,
there's a
just
new
like me.
resurgence in like celebrities that are joining the Theosophy Society, which is again, a lot of occultic stuff. There's a lot of actors out there that are like, yeah, I'm a witch.
Yeah. Well,
It's
hell,
just
Taylor Swift.
but I'm a
Taylor
good
Swift
witch.
is the
You know,
biggest
like
one.
yeah.
Sorry.
what, Megan?
What's that? Oh,
What
I
did
just think
you
they were
say?
saying like they're good witches, right? Or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know.
whatever.
But
Whether,
Mhm.
I used to wonder, was there a difference between light magic and dark magic? And then I've learned since it's all drawn from the same well. So,
Well,
there's a lot of former, magicians with like real magic, not like performance magic, like ritual magic, who have dabbled in that and they thought they were only doing light magic and they were absolutely hunted and inundated by demons and it turned them to Christ. There's many examples out there where they're
oh,
like,
absolutely.
this guy laying in bed and he has this like creepy, disgusting, demonic, I mean, like flesh and blood thing crawl up over top of him, breathing in his face. He said he could feel the drool on his face. It dripped in his mouth. He could taste it. It had like
Yeah.
the most rotten smelling breath, and it was just absolutely
Mhm.
terrifying. And so, there's not just one account of this, there's several.
Oh,
So,
ugh.
yeah, so there's just some really, really interesting stuff out there.
Well, either Friday or Saturday, I'm going to be decoding the Super Bowl, all of it from start to finish, halftime. And they are actually
is there a
doing
lot? I didn't
rituals.
watch any of it, so
Me neither.
I did watch it just so I laughed at it.
yeah.
Oh, did I laugh? It was the most ridiculous thing, but they actually did rituals right
What
in
was
front
it
of
last year?
people.
Like the main thing was a goat, right? Like Baphomet. There
Yeah,
was a goat commercial and like
yeah.
yeah.
The
Yeah,
commercials
and
were,
Rihanna was up there dressed in red head to toe,
Oh, I
pregnant,
know. Grabbing a crotch.
and
Yeah.
I think that was
yeah.
last year.
Yep,
And
that
to
was last.
me, that represents, this mystery Babylon. When you read the
Yep.
description of that in Revelation, and you see every one of these female performers do that in red, head to toe,
Well, there
purple
was a
in the
lot of
background.
red. There was
Yeah,
white and red, the black and white
yeah,
checkerboard. They had the
yeah.
pentagrams up in the background. It was.
Nice.
You guys
They
seen
had
the
Taylor Swift sitting by Ice something was her name. She was
White
actually
Lighty?
given the devil fingers and then had the upside down cross and almost like
Yeah,
she was chanting. It was
yeah.
crazy.
Huh.
I noticed the upside down cross right away. I gotta
Yeah.
watch that again.
Yeah,
So
I
Did I
sent you the video. Yeah.
did I
Yep.
talk to you? Did you guys hear I guess I can't play it on YouTube, but I'm sure I mentioned it with the Madonna Eurovision video.
Oh,
What pre C word?
yeah.
Yeah, that'll piss anybody off. Piss me
Yep.
off. I'm like, wow.
I didn't see it. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, do Madonna Eurovision. And you'll love the auto tune in it. It's great. I'm
Okay.
kidding. I'm
I've
kidding
seen
about the
I've
auto-tune,
seen like
but
again when you
no,
look at the sets of these, there's all these images of Beyonce on a red horse with a big like black halo behind her head, or like supposed to look like the black sun, the rays
Mhm.
coming off of the, like a, crown type thing. Another one where she's on a white horse. These are like, I think indicative of the four horsemen. It's
Revelations.
like, why is she
Revelation
always
with the
on a
Revelations.
horse? What does
Yeah.
that have to do with anything?
Well, that falls back to
And
the Denver airport with the
yeah,
Bronco and the white
yeah,
horse
yeah.
and Book of
Yep.
Revelation. Yeah. Yep. I love the
Lucifer.
symbolism.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I just wanted to say too, if anybody watches this, like as far as taking everything with a grain of salt, like for instance, like Alex Jones or whatever, like I'm fully convinced that he's probably controlled opposition. I think that he
Yeah.
went into it with good intentions, but I think
Yeah.
it ends up getting end up getting caught in it, because I just saw him on that podcast that he did, not saw him, but listened to him on the podcast that he did with Elon Musk and Andrew Tate. Did you guys see that?
I heard something about it. I didn't see that one.
Well-
I saw a different one we was on with Carlson Tucker, and his new money makers are bourbon and a video game. Like
Yeah.
we need more of
So-
that shit. Really?
Yeah. So Elon Musk asked him to explain his theory again or whatever. Here's your opportunity to explain what you think happened at Randy Book pew 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 thing. I don't like to say that on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, so he gave him the opportunity and he pretty much like retracted everything that he said, like, oh, I pretty much taking back everything he said about it. And I'm like, wow, that's not good. I don't know. I
That's
just like
not
pretty
good.
but
Have
so
you
I
ever
feel like-
seen the Illuminati playing cards?
I've got them, and I was planning on doing a video, but I haven't done it yet. But I've got them all. Oh boy, that's an
Look at
that's
the
a
code.
number.
that's
Look
because
at-
everything's already planned, and like we were just
Look
talking
at
about,
the
like, everything's already-
Co-Intel Pro card. It looks just like him.
What's that?
like Alex Jones.
Yes. Look at
Yeah.
the Co-Intel Pro card. It looks like him. I'm not even
Yep.
kidding.
It does.
Yeah, but what I was gonna
So-
say was like, even so, like with people like Alex, like I've learned a lot from Alex Jones, like in the past. Like he's one of the
Yeah.
people that have taught me a lot. But then again, it's like you can't just believe everything that because they could be controlled opposition, or they could they could be
That's
putting
what
out a
I
lot of facts
wonder.
with a whole lot of disinformation. So it's like you even like Ole Damagard, like I can't say for everything that he's told me is 100% factual, but he's also opened my eyes to a lot of things, just like Alex Jones. So it's like had I not watched them or done more research based off of what they said, then I would still be one of those people that are like,
Did you put his link in,
Right.
Megan?
who's like
The guy
Ole
that
Damagard?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's I don't
You've
think
already
he's
put
come
his
up with
link in the
it.
chat.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Are you
well-
talking about the podcast guy, or are you talking about
Well, yeah, the guy that we've talked about on here.
the one was talking about the World Economic Forum?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, I did. I put the link in there already.
Okay. I didn't, or did I?
Well, and I have a question. How does Alex Jones
yeah, I
have a
got it
$2
right
million studio? If he's if he's so beaten down and they're so against him and he's, getting blocked at every turn, like he says, how does he have a $2 million studio? Just a studio.
Who's
Not
that?
to
I'm not
mention
sure, Shay.
Alex Jones, not to mention all of his employees. And, I'm not saying he couldn't have made money fair and square. I'm just saying these are fair questions,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's disappointing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It's disappointing to me to even have to think.
I
that,
ask
but-
myself that a lot.
Yeah.
I used to be a huge Trump supporter, and I'm starting to ask I'm starting to question him in a lot of things,
Well, his bloodline.
All I know is that we weren't in a recession when
Scary.
he was president, and we
Yeah,
also didn't have-
absolutely.
we had 5 million less illegals in here, right? So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but in
The
the
only
end, like,
thing I
know,
wonder is if he wasn't a part of this whole movie per se, would they have had him kill? I mean, I'm literally struggling with it, and because if I'm going to have anybody, it's going to have to be Trump. Sometimes I wonder is God using him, or is he part of the movie?
So
That's
there's
what-
Here's my take, and it's just my personal feeling. I just do not believe. I think, like you said earlier, They all sleep in the same bed together. And
Mhm.
it depends on the narrative they want pushed. You're always going to get some truth. And it depends on what appeals to you, right? Like
Yep.
how you're going to see it. And so that's not to say they aren't going to throw you a bone once in a while. That's going
Yeah.
to get you re-engaged in the game of
Mhm.
politics. If everybody was just straight up evil all the time and screwing us over every
Yeah.
single time, everybody would just give up on it. But they need people participating in this show and in this game that is politics to make you still think that voting is important, that it has an impact, and that
Your vote
there's
counts.
somebody trustworthy in there. So it just
Mhm.
depends on, I mean, look at how many people are like for Joe Biden that cannot form a
Yeah.
straight sentence.
Oh, and
So
that's insane to me. Like, how could they like, and they'll like laugh, like they laugh about it, like when he like
yeah,
does his gabbles and
like
it's like,
isn't
Oh,
he
it's
cute?
unbelievable.
Yeah. So it just depends on what appeals to
yeah,
you, your station in life,
Mm.
your even the politics you come from, where you are financially in the system. I mean,
mhm.
it just depends on a lot of things. And I think it's all meant to just keep you sucked in and make you believe that your vote actually counts and that
And
you
that you're
actually have a
actually making a
say.
difference in what's going on, and but
Right.
you're not. We're not doing
Yep. But
anything.
so
They're
like if
making
you're
all this.
not right, if you're not for this gay and trans agenda or whatever, and it's like I don't personally care what people do in their bedrooms. But what I don't think is okay is this stuff being pushed in your face, in the kids'
Right.
faces,
Yeah.
and all the stuff
Exactly.
that comes with it. But
Yep.
look at how I just saw a TikTok today that had this guy going around
Tic-tac.
asking all these young people. First question was, do you think it's okay for a 12-year-old to get a tattoo? Every single one of them said no, they're too young to make that kind of decisions. Tattoos are forever.
Exactly.
And then they turn
But then,
the second
oh
question
yeah.
is, so do you think it's okay to take puberty blockers? And they're like, oh yeah, a
Oh my
12-year-old's old enough to decide
jeez.
that. It depends on the 12-year-old. I mean, you have to watch it because it's like, what's happening here? And I had
Yeah.
one girl blushes and she goes, I know it sounds really hypocritical, but I think that's a decision that should be left to the kid.
Oh,
It's
good
like,
Lord.
so they can't get a tattoo that can
Mm.
be removed or covered or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
but they can chop body parts off and take hormones that are going to screw them up. And yeah. And I read in the comment section of that, this woman said she worked for a doctor and she talked to him about this. And he said every single person, patient of his that had surgery regretted it. Every single one. No, it's just a comment in the comment section of a random person. But I'm just saying it's wild the effectiveness of these agendas and the brainwashing that they accomplish. Because the one girl said, well, I don't really think so, but I don't want to go against the trans community. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you know in your heart that's wrong, but you don't want to offend these people that you don't even know,
Yeah.
you know? And I just think there's people being used and abused, and they'll find out later the hard way, you
Yeah.
know?
Shay just put
The one
a
that-
PDF file download, and it's the fact sheet on U.S. Department of Education policy letter on the transgender students. So if anybody wants to go in and read it, she just put
Yeah.
it. It's in the link in there.
So
Oh, cool.
before we end this, I just wanted to say one last thing about Trump. Like as far
Sure.
as like, because when Allison, when you said you really wanted to trust him,
Mhm.
me too. I was like, this is great. Like he's not a politician. He doesn't need
Yep.
campaign money. He's got his own money. Like he's gonna be totally different. Like, but then when he came out with the whole Project Warp Speed thing, I was like, whoa, wait a second. Like,
What's happening?
why are you trying to push this so quick? You know, and so
Yep.
I actually watched. There's this it's on Roku. Excuse me. It's what is it called? It was True something or not Red Pill. I don't know, but they took it off Roku, and then now they have another one on there. But it's got all the conspiracy stuff on there.
Yeah.
And one of them, it was a documentary about Trump, and it explained that I'm not saying that I fully believe that either, but it made me look at it from a different perspective because I'm like, why would he push that? That's
Yeah.
not, that's
Yeah.
not cool. So, and I don't know if I'm able to explain it again, but they pretty much said like it was for a reason to protect us. Like it was like if I'm trying to remember what it was. It was something about like, oh, so had he not done that, it would have made it so that we were forced, like 100% entirely forced to get the
Yeah.
The
I
thing.
almost said it. I'm like
You almost said the other V word, Megan.
I know.
The other
know.
vagina word.
yeah, the vagina word. Yeah,
Yeah.
potty mouth. No, but yeah. So like they explained that had you not done that, then it would have made it so it would have screwed us more, and we would
Well,
have
that
had
makes
it would have
sense.
been mandated. And so then I was like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. So, and
Yep.
again, I'm not fully convinced one way or another, but I'm
No,
also,
it depends on what was
you
in
know what I
that.
mean?
I looked up on the CDC what the ingredients were, and it says the ingredients are not available. What's not in there is any electronic devices, nanotechnology,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. I was like, are you actually putting this on your website? Are
Did
you
you guys
joking me?
see where a scientist come out? There's actually a link. I'll send to you guys. Actually, I could probably find it. Anyways, a scientist come out and said that they put cancer cells in the V
There's a bunch of
jab.
stuff. There's a woman named Karen
Yep.
Kingston. I get emails all the time from Rumble. See, that's the thing is when you go to some of these other platforms where they weren't, they're starting to get censored. There's just a long story, but it's that agency that was started for social media censorship to make sure mis and disinformation's not out there because
Honor Network. The Honor Network.
they couldn't get a stranglehold on all the platforms on
Yeah.
Rumble and some other ones. And so now they had to create this agency. And when you hear the guy who heads it, he's like tries to make it just sound like it's a think tank. He says agency and then he backpedals and says, well, it's not an agency. Well, you just said agency, you dumb shit. And then, and then he goes on and say, well, no, just as a group, we have to control the flow of dis and misinformation out there. So we need to
But
take a
who are
hard
you to
look
say
at
what is
social media.
disinformation and what is
Right. And
like,
you guys are the arbiters of that, really?
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's like I said, this is a multi-layered 5D chess game. And it goes way back. And so it's really hard. It just comes down to discernment again.
Mhm.
And, just in my opinion, I've lately, the way I kind of muddle my way through it is really and truly it's through guidance of the Holy Spirit, and that may sound corny to some people. I don't really give a shit because I just, you have to find it somewhere. You can call it your gut feeling, you can call it your intuition, you can call it whatever you want. I have become to calling it the Holy Spirit because I feel like there is a power bigger than us, way smarter than us, way more powerful than us, trying to
All these
guide us in the
creatures
right
and
direction.
everything in this world, like those complex worms, and like everything, like there's no way that came from a rock explosion, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
there's some higher being that created all this. It's so intricate and so intelligent that it's like,
Yeah.
how could it just come from a rock? But they again,
Yeah.
like you're saying, Jen, that they want you to believe that.
Yeah.
that
And
that
this
we're
is
not
just
special.
it's just another lie. And besides that, you look at most of science and they admit themselves it's mostly theoretical.
It is. They'll
You
say,
know?
based or we believe that this is this planet or this like, and
In
there's
theory,
no. Why are there no pictures of like actual like? I want to see. I don't care if it's blurry. I don't care if it's like not as pretty or look as nice, but I want to see this actual footage of this black star or whatever that you guys are seeing, not
Right.
this CGI bullshit
right.
on the Science Channel.
Right. Right. And it's all, and then in the world of Photoshop, deep fakes, AI,
That's what's
you know,
scary. That's what's really scary because like
yeah,
it's just in the Watts case, like they believe they see a picture that the girls are being pulled out of the tanks, but you don't see anything. But now with
Yeah.
like if people believe that with these deep fakes, we're in trouble. Like
yeah,
really,
we are
it's
in
scary.
trouble.
I put
And
the link in the chat about the pharmacist scientists, how they put that in there. So if anybody
Yeah.
wants to click,
yeah,
it's in
I
there.
mean, I remember like way back it was on Bill Maher and, whatever you can think, anybody can think whatever they want about him. But he had on this couple from a podcast. I think it's called The Dark Horse, and you could tell they had a lawyer just off camera because they kept looking at him and looking at him. Just they were so careful about how they worded everything. And this was at the very beginning, and they said it was manufactured and it was unleashed, the bug. And then I don't know. There's just look at how different the narrative is now from what it was then. And if you watch that movie Died Suddenly, it is like a horror movie. It is so
What is
scary.
it called?
Died Suddenly.
Died.
You can see it on Rumble. You can't see it on YouTube. They won't allow it.
Yeah, of course not.
But no, and anyway, it's have you either of you seen that?
No.
Oh, you gotta watch it because
What's it called
it'll
again?
blow your minds. And you see them pulling these, they call them like fibroids or whatever. They look like worms, 3-foot long things that they start growing in your artery.
Are you
This is-
flipping kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. Coroners did not know what they're dealing with.
I'll have
Never have so
frickin'
many coroners
nightmares.
said they've had to put down as cause and manner of death unknown because it's like they just did not know what you just have to look. There's this video after video of CCTV
Mm.
of these young, healthy people. All of a sudden their eyes go up to their right index finger goes up and starts spinning them backwards, following their finger, and then boom, they're dead. Two of them fell into trains in the train stations, like in
This
the
is a
subway.
this is true
This is
story.
real. This is all 100% real.
What's it called?
When we hang up, go watch that movie.
It's called Died Suddenly. I
Yep.
will have nightmares.
Yes, you
Yeah.
will. But it's also very enlightening because you have a lot of virologists, scientists, coroners, people who were on the ground with all of this after the remedy to the bug.
Well,
This is all a cause of that remedy, so-called remedy. So, it's not from the bug, it's from the thing the warp speed pushed out. So,
well, it's true if YouTube does not allow it. It's
Right.
true.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
if they had it on here, the majority
People
wouldn't
would
be-
but see the fact that you have to go out
Or
in
if
the
they tell you it's not a conspiracy, it probably is. Like,
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Basically take whatever they say and go with the opposite, and that's probably
Yeah,
the actual truth. So
yeah, maybe recommendations. Don't believe anything.
Yeah.
Believe the opposite of what the news tells you.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
all otherwise proven for sure. All right, ladies. So thanks for having
All
me.
right.
I'm gonna go. I got to get
Me
up early, and
same here.
So I will get my my video for probably Saturday night, maybe Friday night. It depends on what time I get back from Iowa City. So
Okay, well we'll look for
Allison,
it.
did you email me back since I recently did? I'm so bad about checking my email.
yes, I have
did? Okay, I'll
emailed
look at
you.
it.
I don't
Okay.
understand.
And
No, I did. I emailed you back the one
oh,
time.
you
right?
did? When?
Yeah. A few days ago.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked them. I will. Good, great.
Yeah.
Yay.
and Megan, do you care if I get your email or info or whatever from Allison?
Yeah, no, of course.
I've
yeah.
wanted that for like 3 years. So
I'm just so bad about checking it. That's why I was trying to get Allison. to
same
sign it.
here. I
Well,
am
I'm
too,
just
but
as bad
I've
unless-
wanted to have some kind of direct contact with you for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially as all this stuff is coming to my purview. I'm like, I've thought of you so many times.
Oh.
Ask Allison. I'm like, man, I wish I could tell Megan this.
I know.
Like,
I mean,
Every
just
time
like,
I hear what Allison has said about how I was able to open her eyes and stuff it's just so it gives me more motivation when I start to get discouraged when I hear
it's a
like that,
lonely
so,
old
yeah.
world out there knowing what we know. It's lonely. You don't have people that think like you, that understand what's really going on, and it sucks. So it's nice
Yeah.
to have people that understand and think like you and understand what is really going on.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I want to leave people with just this one thought. If anybody makes it to the end of this, just consider if just one thing we said here is true. Forget, you don't have to believe all of it, but just think if just one thing, one of these topics, one of these issues that we've brought up, if you don't believe it all, yeah, that's your prerogative. But just consider if it's like saying with alien encounters or anything, if all it takes is for one to be true, that
Mhm.
cracks open an egg that you
Mhm.
cannot glue back together, right? And it's only going to start leading you closer and closer and closer to the truth. And it's so complicated and multi-layered that, like, it's like, look at all the wiggles and whines and whatever that this conversation is taken, because it is all connected. But we've all gathered our information from a million different things and
Mhm.
places, and
And
so
that was
yeah.
before, though. That was before they started censorship. Like, I remember doing research and, like around the time of like the Vegas shooting, and like before that, like there was a lot more information out there about
Yeah.
all these other
Oh
things, and
no,
there's not, because it's been
internet's
scrubbed.
getting scrubbed,
So
guys. It's
when we
getting
talk
scrubbed.
about this stuff and we say, hey,
Yeah.
go do the research, it's there. Well, it's not. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
is, but you got to dig and you got to
You
want to
gotta
find it,
dig, and the
compared to
thing
where it was
is
always. Yeah.
yeah, like NYSTV was saying this. They're like, I recommend, like, especially if you homeschool your kids, to go start buying the oldest books you can get, because
Oh, yeah.
you know the
They're trying to get rid of
information's
books.
being changed, it's being
Mhm.
scrubbed. And like, I long time ago I dumped Google, and I had put DuckDuckGo on, because you used to get such a huge variety of returns,
Mhm.
and it's not like that anymore. And I was watching a video on YouTube of this guy talking about it, and he gave examples. He went through and he would just pick a topic, and he'd go through, and you would get the same returns, page after page after page after. It's the same
And
shit
you notice Google,
repeated
remember how
over
there
and
used to
over
be so
again.
many search results? You'd get like at least, few pages. And then now it's like you get maybe one page of actual websites. And then after that, like the second page is like all the websites that like warn you that they're like, state of virus or something, or they got the exclamation point on it, like it's not a
Yeah.
safe site. Or you
Yeah.
click on it and it's like, you won a new Samsung Galaxy,
Right,
like,
right.
where's all the search results that we used to get that were
Yeah.
actual
It's because
websites? Like,
it is systematically being broken down and scrubbed, and so it's like, I really fear for people that
yeah.
are choosing this, like, willful ignorance and cognitive dissonance to stay uninformed, because the truth is the
They like
old
listening to others.
reality is much more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
It's the indoctrination is more comfortable because that's what you're used to. And to open your eyes to a lot of this stuff, it's not comfortable, it's uncomfortable. But I guess it's just down to the person if they want to live in a reality of truth or a
Mhm.
reality of lies. And
Yeah.
that's just up to each individual, I guess. So
Yeah. They'll
on
figure it
that
out.
note, yep. On that
Yeah.
note, ladies, good
All right.
night.
Yep.
I
Night.
love
Good
you
night, everyone.
both,
Good night.
and I
Thank
hope we
you
talk
both.
Bye,
soon
Carrie.
again.
Bye,
Thank
Shay.
you.
Good night. Love you
Good
guys.
night.
I'm glad you both came up.
Me too.
Thank you for having
Bye.
us,
Thank
Allison.
you,
Good night.
chat, for being here. We appreciate you guys. Good night.
Good night, Al.